Chapter 23:11. Chen Zhao looked at his hands. He could feel that the surrounding spiritual qi had completely disappeared. How big is your forbidden zone? Chen Zhao asked. It's enough to trap you inside, Li Pan said coldly. Not enough. Chen Zhao shook his head, smiling. Humph. Really? A Jerson stood outside the forbidden magic zone, his palms crossed together, and a yellow magic ball condensed between his palms. Chen Zhao looked at a Jerson. This forbidden zone shouldn't have the flight path of your spell, right? A Jerson didn't answer. Instead, he used his actions to show his intentions. The magic ball indeed couldn't maintain its flight path in the forbidden zone. But if it was a solid magic ball, it wouldn't be affected. A Jerson pushed his palms forward. The solid earth elemental magic ball shot toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao raised his hand to block it. The magic ball exploded in his palm. That's it. As soon as Chen Zhao finished speaking, he saw his palm and arm petrify. Petrification. Chen Zhao had been attacked by petrification spells before. Even in the supernatural organization, there were people who could use petrification spells. Petrification was rare, but it wasn't a very rare type of spell. Chen Zhao clenched his fists and his muscles exerted force. Instantly, the stone layer on his skin cracked. Petrification didn't completely petrify a creature. Instead, it petrified the creature's skin. When Chen Zhao was hit by the spell, the skin on his arm was petrified. But this didn't affect Chen Zhao's strength. Moreover, petrification could be dispelled by his own mana. Of course, there was a prerequisite. That was, he had to have enough mana. Petrification was actually earth elemental invading the body. Then, it would assimilate the body. You could think of earth elemental as poison. If a spiritualist was poisoned, without antidotes or other treatment methods, they would need a large amount of mana to dispel the poison. Earth elemental was like this, but it was more troublesome than most poisons. Good teamwork, Chen Zhao said as he patted off the petrified skin on his arm. Do you still have mana? Li Pan asked confidently. She'd already used her trump card and trapped Chen Zhao in the forbidden zone. Then, a Jerson used petrification to waste Chen Zhao's mana. Moreover, one couldn't recover in the forbidden zone. With a Jerson's cooperation, she was confident that no one could defeat them. Are you ready? A Jerson was already preparing an even bigger and scarier petrification spell. It condensed into a huge petrification sphere before him. But the next moment, a Jerson and Li Pan's expressions changed. This was because they all felt a large amount of spiritual energy surging towards the magic forbidden zone. Li Pan. A Jerson yelled. I know. Li Pan didn't understand what was going on either. Her forbidden magic zone was still in effect, but the surrounding spiritual energy was surging into the forbidden magic zone. One must know that the greatest characteristic of this magic forbidden zone was that it could prevent the surrounding spiritual energy from entering for a short period of time. If she couldn't do this, then no matter how much she absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy, there would always be spiritual energy from the outside to replenish it. In that case, this magic forbidden zone would be meaningless. But now, something unexpected had happened. The heaven and earth spiritual energy in the periphery seemed to be on a rampage as it continuously attacked the magic forbidden zone. Edgerson, hurry up, I can't hold on for much longer. Li Pan's body was trembling. She had never had such a hard time maintaining a forbidden area. A Jerson didn't dare to waste any more time. He cast a huge petrification spell at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao wouldn't let him succeed so easily this time. He casually punched. The shadow of a fist shattered the petrification spell. At the same time, a large amount of earth elements flew back at a Jerson. Ederson and Li Pan turned pale with fright. No matter how they thought about it, they couldn't understand how Chen Zhao could still release such an attack in the magic forbidden zone. In fact, Chen Zhao's fist wasn't a magical attack. It was purely a physical one. He used his strength and speed to compress the air and create a strong pressure. Ederson couldn't dodge the earth element in time and was hit by the one he had released. Instantly, Ederson's skin turned to stone. Ederson! Li Pan was shocked. Let me see how big your magic forbidden zone is. Otherwise, I'll blast him to smithereens right now. Li Pan gritted her teeth. She'd never met an opponent like Chen Zhao. He was such a difficult opponent. In the past, when she and Ederson worked together, they'd always been successful. But this time, when they worked together against Chen Zhao, they were actually suppressed to the point of despair. What do you want? Li Pan growled. Her eyes were filled with hatred. I told you, I want to hire you. Hire me for what? You're so much stronger than me. I don't think there's anything I can help you with. My daughter is about to awaken, and I specialize in physical attacks, so I need your moonlight magic. Li Pan raised an eyebrow. She immediately understood. I see. When? Tonight or tomorrow night, Chen Zhao said. It had already been a night. Jerlin's awakening would either be tonight or tomorrow night. My fee isn't low, and it's such a dangerous operation. How's his life? Is it enough? Chen Zhao asked calmly. Aren't you afraid that I'll ambush you on the night of awakening? Li Pan felt that she had something on Chen Zhao. Then you better pray that I die on the night of awakening, Chen Zhao said. Plus, I already reminded you that I came to find you with sincerity. Unfortunately, you rejected my kindness. I can do it tonight, but not tomorrow, because the third trial starts tomorrow. You won't be eliminated, Chen Zhao said. I have a way to let you advance directly. Li Pan didn't believe Chen Zhao. Her face was filled with mockery. The battle for the holy glory is very important to me. I can't give it up for you. I've said it before, I can let you pass the next round of the trial. Unless you prove it to me first, I won't believe you. I'm not negotiating with you, Chen Zhao said impatiently. You can kill me, but I won't compromise. Seeing Li Pan's determined gaze, Chen Zhao took a deep breath and took out his phone. Old Zhang, I hope that one participant can advance directly in the next trial. Impossible. I'm not negotiating with you, Chen Zhao said, annoyed. I need someone to advance directly. Give me a reason. Chapter 23:12. Chen Zhao felt like he didn't have enough face. I hired a participant, Chen Zhao said. But she doesn't want to give up the trial. It's not your team. Of course not me. Am I that kind of person? Why did you hire that participant? I heard from Bifla that she's a moonlight witch. I understand. Okay, I agree, Zhang Tianyi said. At first, Zhang Tianyi thought that Chen Zhao wanted to get a spot for his team member. This was against the principle of fairness. Zhang Tianyi couldn't agree to such a request. But after hearing Chen Zhao mention the moonlight witch, Zhang Tianyi found it more acceptable. After all, it was much more dangerous to be hired by Chen Zhao than the third trial. Of course, one of the important reasons was that Chen Zhao was the one who made the request. If it was someone else, Zhang Tianyi would probably slap the person's face. This meant that Chen Zhao was shameless enough. Even though Chen Zhao called Zhang Tianyi. But Li Pan still didn't believe Chen Zhao. To her, Chen Zhao just found someone to put on a show. If you can really help me pass the third trial, then I'll agree to hire you, Li Pan said. Also, I don't want my teammates to be hurt. Sure, Chen Zhao said. You'll receive the official notice of the battle. Then, Chen Zhao walked to Ajerson and grabbed her petrified shoulder. Soon, Ajerson's petrified shell cracked. Ajerson collapsed onto the ground weakly. Ampa and Clive arrived outside Chen Zhao's guest room. They first looked around the corridor. Ampa, check if there's anyone inside, Clive said. There's a soft breathing, but it's very smooth. It should be Jerlin's. There's no one else. Just little Jerlin. Clive's face was full of doubt. Her father is really irresponsible. That being said, it saved them a lot of trouble. Clive cast a spell on the doorknob like a thief. Crack, the door was unlocked and the two quickly entered the room. The luxury of this suite made the two of them a little dazed. However, the two of them soon found little Jerlin on the bed. Ampa took out the magic potion he'd prepared. But before Ampa could feed the magic potion to little Jerlin, suddenly, the two of them lost control and crashed into the wall behind them. Then they realized that their bodies were slowly sinking into the wall. What's going on? What the hell is going on? The two of them cried out in panic. At this moment, a person slowly appeared on the opposite wall. The two glanced at each other, shock written all their faces. Who was it? Ampa Bifla strolled to the couple. Who sent you? Bifla asked calmly. No one sent us. Who are you? I'm the one interrogating you right now, so you don't have the right to ask questions, Bifla said calmly. Who sent you to harm her? We never intended to hurt little Jerlin. It's useless for you to quibble. I advise you to tell me the truth. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what I'll do. She, chin, just, teat. At this moment, the door opened. Chen Zhao returned and saw Bifla. At the same time, he saw two human faces on the wall in front of Bifla. Ah! Chen Zhao looked at the three in shock. Chen Zhao didn't immediately recognize Cliff, who was embedded in the wall. However, Clive recognized him at first glance. Mr. Chen, it's me. I'm Clive. Clive. Chen Zhao didn't react immediately. Who was Clive? Gradually, Chen Zhao recalled that he'd met Clive once before. When he and Dadaira went to the supermarket, Cliff led a group of children. There was a brief exchange between the two. Later on, little Jerlin accidentally ate the void spirit herb at Clive's house, which caused her to fall into a deep sleep and awaken. Bifla released them. The two of them were immediately spat out by the wall. Yes, they were spat out. Mr. Cliff, why are you here? Clive was a little embarrassed and a little ashamed. Jerlin accidentally ate the void spirit herb because of us. We heard that you brought her to Istanbul, so we wanted to make up for our mistake. Mr. Cliff, this isn't anyone's fault, so don't take it to heart. Chen Zhao would be lying if he said that he didn't blame Clive for what happened to little Jerlin. But at least he didn't lose his mind and wouldn't blame Clive for everything. He didn't plan on pursuing Clive's mistake either. No matter what, Clive didn't have any bad intentions. Ampa looked at everyone and then at little Jerlin. Mr. Chen, are you a spiritualist too? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Then you should know little Jerlin's symptoms, right? But I see that she's still unconscious. If it's hard to get the antidote, we can provide it. No need. Jerlin's main problem isn't because of you. Her accidental eating of the void spirit herb was just the cause. She's awakening now. Awakening. Ampa and Clive both raised their eyebrows. They'd never heard of anyone awakening at such a young age. If that's the case, we're even more duty-bound, Ampa said. Ampa said, we hope to be of some help on the night of little Jerlin's awakening. Thank you for your kindness, but there's no need. Chen Zhao shook his head. But one more person's strength means one more insurance for little Gerland's safety. You can't help. Although we aren't that strong, we can still help out a little. Bifla sneered. You don't even understand little Gerland's current situation. She's not an ordinary awakening. There's a difference between ordinary and ordinary awakenings. Mr. Cliff, you really can't help, Chen Zhao said, rubbing his forehead. We know a few spiritualists. We can help little Gerland find more helpers. Mr. Cliff, I said that there's no need. Chen Zhao's tone became heavier. Mr. Chen, we really want to help. If there's a need, I'll find you, but there's no need for that now. To Cliff and Ampa, awakening was very risky, especially since it wasn't Gerland's first night of awakening. Especially since it was obviously not Gerland's first night of awakening, the risk was even greater. Although Chen Zhao had a powerful spiritualist with him, they still felt that it couldn't guarantee Gerland's safety. Chapter 23:13. Cliff and Amber really wanted to stay and help. But Chen Zhao still had that unapproachable attitude. This made them very disappointed. They really wanted to do something for little Gerland. Even if it was an insignificant amount. The two glanced at each other and made up their minds. On the night of awakening, they would attack regardless of whether Chen Zhao agreed or not. After Cliff and Amber left, Chen Zhao also started preparing. He wasn't sure if Gerland's night of nirvana would be tonight or tomorrow night. Ederson suddenly jumped up and realized that he was lying on the bed. Li Pan and a few other teammates were in the room. Li Pan, where's that guy? Gone, Li Pan said. We lost. Ederson vaguely remembered the last scene. Li Pan nodded. We lost badly. Li Pan, Ederson, who did you guys meet? One of the teammates asked. A very powerful guy. Li Pan and I couldn't beat him even when we worked together. Li Pan used all his trump cards, a teammate asked. Their team was put together at the last minute. But they were familiar with each other and knew about Li Pan's trump cards. Plus, Li Pan had used the magic forbidden zone once before. They still remembered Li Pan's magic forbidden zone. They really couldn't imagine who could beat Li Pan when he used his trump cards. And Ederson had teamed up. An enhancer, Li Pan said. There was an enhancer in their team. Hearing Li Pan's words, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Oh, enhancer. I want to meet him and take revenge for you guys. The other teammates also rubbed their palms, as if they were ready to go all out. Just then, Li Pan's phone rang. Your name is Li Pan. Moonlight Witch. An old and slightly hoarse voice came from the other end. Moreover, his tone had a hint of arrogance to it, making Li Pan feel very uncomfortable. Who are you? Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi. Celestial Master Zhang. Ha. You think you're Celestial Master Zhang just because you say so. Junior, you don't know your place. Be careful of divine punishment. I can't be bothered with you. Li Pan didn't believe that it was Zhang Tianyi on the other end of the phone. Therefore, she directly hung up the phone, not intending to continue the conversation. Li Pan, who called? A person who claims to be Celestial Master Zhang, Li Pan said. Are there still scammers in the Battle of Holy Glory? And he even dared to use Celestial Master Zhang's name to swindle people? Isn't he a little too daring? Truly daring, Li Pan nodded. She and her teammates didn't believe that Zhang Tianshi would call Li Pan, who wasn't even related to him. Li Pan, your head, what's wrong with my head? Li Pan raised her head in confusion, and in that instant, she saw a dark cloud gathering above her head. The others were also puzzled and confused. They were indoors, so where did the dark clouds come from? In the next moment, lightning flashed and thunder roared in this small patch of dark clouds. Then, a bolt of lightning struck down from the dark clouds. Ah! Li Pan was sent flying to the ground. Li Pan felt his whole body cramping up. What the hell is going on? How could this be? Who is using magic to attack me? But where is there anyone here? At this time, the phone rang again. Li Pan picked up the phone, trembling. How is it? Does it feel good to be struck by lightning? You bastard, did you do it? Rumble. At this time, the dark clouds above Li Pan's head began to rumble again. Li Pan subconsciously shrank her head. What do you want? I'm just informing you that you've directly advanced in the next trial. After saying that, the call was hung up. Hey, damn it, you still haven't dispelled the magic. Li Pan, what the hell is going on? It's the guy who called me just now. Do any of you know what kind of magic this is? Li Pan raised her head to look at the dark clouds above her head. She was still a bit frightened. This magic is very similar to the Chinese Taoist thunder drawing technique. Is this really a Taoist magic? Li Pan felt a bit scared. I just checked the surroundings and didn't find any signs of magic being used. It seems like someone used this magic on you from very far away. Very far. How far? It could be a few kilometers away, or it could be dozens of kilometers away. Is that possible? It really is beyond common sense. Incomprehensible magic, as well as the distance of the magic. It can't really be Lord Celestial Master, right? At this time, even the way Li Pan addressed him had changed. She felt a bit scared. Everyone was also shocked. Before, they couldn't believe that Celestial Master Zhang would call Li Pan. But at this moment, through all sorts of unimaginable details, they were able to pin this matter on Celestial Master Zhang. It seemed that if these inconceivable magic and spellcasting were combined with Zhang Tianyi, it would make perfect sense. Li Pan, did you offend Lord Celestial Master? How could that be? I didn't even see him, how could I offend Lord Celestial Master? What did he say on the phone? Li Pan lowered her head and fell into silence. Should she directly say that she had been notified that she had passed the third trial? If that person really was Celestial Master Zhang and she had directly advanced, if this matter were to spread, wouldn't it attract a lot of trouble? After a moment of hesitation, Li Pan said, that person said that I can't say it casually, or I'll be punished. Everyone understood Li Pan's concerns. Regardless of whether that person was Celestial Master Zhang or not, he could cast spells on others from a long distance away. A spiritualist with this ability must have extraordinary means. Even if it wasn't Celestial Master Zhang, they couldn't afford to offend him. This method was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. If the person's power was a bit stronger. If the person attacked her in her sleep, she would probably be half dead even if she didn't die. Li Pan thought even more. Could it be that the man was telling the truth? Had she really advanced because of his phone call? If it was true, not only was that guy powerful, but his background and influence were also frighteningly great. Li Pan glanced at the dark clouds above her head and turned to the others. I need to go out. Is it related to Celestial Master Zhang? After a moment of hesitation, Li Pan nodded. Then go. Everyone felt that Celestial Master Zhang had given Li Pan some secret mission. They were somewhat envious and jealous of Li Pan. With a lot on her mind, Li Pan went to the address that Chen Zhao had given her. Chapter 23:14. In the evening, Li Pan found Chen Zhao in a restaurant. Chen Zhao was eating with Bifla in the restaurant. Bifla only glanced up at Li Pan before continuing to enjoy his food. Is it dinner? Sit down and eat, Chen Zhao said, pulling out a chair. Li Pan took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. If she could beat Chen Zhao, she really wanted to flip the table. In the end, Li Pan still sat down. Waiter, add another set of cutlery, Chen Zhao ordered. There's nothing on this table that suits my taste. Give this lady another menu. Li Pan glanced at the menu and shuddered. The cheapest item on the menu was almost 2,000 new Turkish lira. New Turkish lira was Turkey's currency. The exchange rate was about 1:08 compared to RMB. You're paying, right? Li Pan asked, looking at Chen Zhao. Help yourself. It's my treat. Hearing this, Li Pan calmed down. So, she ordered the most expensive item as revenge. After Li Pan ordered, the waiter looked at Li Pan with a strange expression. At the same time, he looked at Chen Zhao. Sir, this lady ordered 86,500 new Turkish lira. Got it. Chen Zhao waved his hand. Chen Zhao glanced at Li Pan. I don't mind how much you ordered, but you better finish it. I don't like to waste food. Li Pan snorted softly, but she was also thinking that she really ordered too much. After eating and drinking, Li Pan followed behind Chen Zhao and Bifla as if she was pregnant for 10 months. This restaurant's not bad. It's so-so. Chen Zhao shrugged. I have a restaurant in LA. Next time, I'll treat you to my restaurant. Sure. If you come to Central Asia, I'll treat you. I have a lot of meat from magical creatures. Coincidentally, I also have a hobby in this area. Many magical creatures that I killed became my food reserves. Then next time, let's talk more about this, Bifla said. Li Pan followed behind the two of them, his thoughts already wandering to the horizon. It's almost 7, Bifla said. If your daughter awakens tonight, it should be about time now. Chen Zhao checked the time. But there's no sign at all. Although they were both in the restaurant, their domains covered the entire hotel. It could be said that every move of everyone in the hotel was under their surveillance. It was no different from accompanying little Jerlin. However, the night was still calm and peaceful. Not even a single evil spirit appeared. The second night. You have to pay more for the second night. Li Pan said. Chen Zhao looked back at Li Pan and Bifla as well. Then he said indifferently, it's not the second night, it's the third. Li Pan's face immediately turned red. The third day. Li Pan raised his voice. Are you crazy? You want me to help you face the third day? I'm not asking you to face it, Chen Zhao said calmly. I'm just asking you to assist. I don't care, you have to pay more. Otherwise, I'll kill your friends and family. You, Li Pan's chest heaved in anger. She gritted her teeth and glared at Chen Zhao. I was going to give you a reward, but you rejected me and even attacked me. Li Pan felt regret and heartache. After all, she'd noticed that Chen Zhao was rich. No, more accurately, he was very rich. When Chen Zhao paid the bill just now, he'd used a black card. Li Pan didn't have money, but she'd heard rumors about the black card. If she hadn't rejected him so decisively, she might have been able to get a huge reward. It was a calm night. There were no conflicts or cruelty. The whole of Istanbul was so peaceful. The next day, there was a knock on Li Pan's door. Li Pan opened the door in annoyance and saw Chen Zhao standing outside. What? Women who'd just woken up were all the same. Usually, she looked very exquisite. In fact, when she'd just woken up, she was also full of sleepiness and gave off a lazy aura. Li Pan was the same. Her hair was messy and she kept yawning. Her eyes were filled with laziness and sleepiness. Get ready. We're going to the venue for the Night of Awakening tonight. So early. Li Pan was very unhappy. It's only morning. Usually, Chen Zhao liked to sleep in and wake up naturally. Most of the time, he wouldn't arrange his work in the morning. But it was different this time. The time wasn't up to Chen Zhao to decide. Chen Zhao had to prepare beforehand. Don't waste time. I'll give you half an hour to wash up and prepare. Come to my room in half an hour. Li Pan ran to the bathroom, cursing. She was unhappy, but she couldn't ignore Chen Zhao's threat. Half an hour later, Li Pan finally came to Chen Zhao's room. For a woman, half an hour was too little to prepare. Chen Zhao carried Jerlin in his arms. Little Jerlin had been sleeping like this for 3 days. Your daughter is so young. What's so strange about that? How old do you think my daughter should be? She's already a third night awakener at such a young age. Li Pan felt like she'd wasted her life. She'd awakened at 15 and awakened on the second night. But this little girl didn't even look 3 years old. In the past, Li Pan had thought that she was already blessed by the heavens with her talent. But compared to this little girl, the difference was like heaven and earth. Chen Zhao could only roll his eyes at this. Where are we going next? Li Pan asked. She was also curious. The battlefield of the third night definitely wouldn't stay in Istanbul. If it was in the city, it would have disastrous consequences. Not just spiritualists, but also ordinary people. Wasteland Market, Chen Zhao said. Wasteland Market. Isn't that already sealed? Li Pan's voice paused. She suddenly remembered that Chen Zhao could convince Celestial Master Zhang to let her advance directly. This meant that his background was extraordinary, so it wasn't strange for him to have the right to enter and exit Wasteland Market. When are the others coming? Li Pan asked. Others? Who else? Helpers, of course, Li Pan said matter-of-factly. Naturally, Li Pan thought that Chen Zhao had already gathered a large group of helpers. Aren't you? Apart from me. No one else. The others can't help. Li Pan grabbed her neatly combed hair and yelled hysterically, "Are you crazy? Just me and you. Against the third night. More accurately, just me. You're just a support." Chapter 23:15. Is it too late for me to quit now? It's too late. Chen Zhao brought Li Pan to a remote entrance. Zhang Tianyi had given him this entrance. Moreover, no special conditions were required. All that was required was the input of mana. Chen Zhao glanced at Li Pan, who was standing still in front of the entrance. Do you need me to push you in? Helpless, Li Pan was pushed on the back by Chen Zhao. Li Pan fell into the entrance. In an instant, the world spun. When Li Pan opened her eyes again, she was already in the desolate land market. At this moment, they were on the rooftop of a dilapidated building. Chen Zhao followed closely behind. The wasteland market had become a wasteland. Everything was so desolate. There were ruins everywhere. Li Pan had also participated in the trial last time. Therefore, he had seen the wasteland market after it was destroyed, but it was not as direct as this time. As far as the eye could see, all he could see was a scene of doomsday. There was no sign of life, only a deathly silence amidst the desolation. Chen Zhao looked around. This place had been destroyed by his battle with the Red Demon. However, it was also because of that battle that the spiritual energy of the world here became very abundant. Coupled with the fact that this place was abandoned, there was no one to manage the entrance. The spiritual energy from the outside world was no longer obstructed in entering this place, so this place could actually be considered a part of the real world. Even ordinary people had the opportunity to enter this place. This place was actually very similar to the alternate dimension that Qin Zhao had created in Mingyue Villa. The alternate dimension that Qin Zhao had created was also open. As long as they could find the entrance, they could enter. Moreover, there were no special conditions set for the entrance. Of course, Qin Zhao's alternate dimension was even more barren than this place. After all, there was a mirror image here in reality. On the other hand, the alternate dimension that Qin Zhao had created was barren. Other than a large area of land and water from the outside, and air from the outside, there was nothing else. Li Pan looked at him. What about now? What are you going to do? Find a spacious area, Qin Zhao said. This building isn't suitable for a battlefield. As soon as he said that, the roof under his feet shook slightly. Li Pan almost lost her balance. Fortunately, Qin Zhao supported her with one hand. I agree with you. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. It feels dangerous here. Li Pan could even feel the entire building shaking. The building under their feet was already leaning a little. After the shaking just now, the angle of the tilt increased further. However, there were no elevators here, and they were in a high-rise building. Li Pan walked down a few floors and found that the tremors were still coming. Moreover, the tilt of the building was increasing. Are we going to die here? Li Pan's expression was extremely unsightly. They were not here to fight against the collapsing building. If he really died here, then he would have died before he could succeed. How sullen would that be? Don't go down. Go to the edge, Qin Zhao said. Walk along the edge. You're not thinking of jumping down, are you? I don't have a strong constitution like yours. I'm not an enhancer. Li Pan said, moreover, you're carrying a child. Even if you're fine, your daughter won't be able to endure it. However, Qin Zhao didn't care about Li Pan's objection at all and left the safe passage. Qin Zhao smashed a window and looked outside. From his angle, he could clearly see the degree of tilt of the building. You're not really thinking of jumping, are you? Qin Zhao glanced at Li Pan and reached out. Grab my arm. What are you doing? No, no. Seeing the height outside the building, Li Pan's legs turned to jelly. Seeing that Li Pan wasn't willing, Qin Zhao grabbed her shoulder and leaped out. Ah! Accompanied by Li Pan's hysterical screams, Qin Zhao pulled her and slid down the glass wall of the building at high speed. However, they slid down a little faster. Soon, Li Pan felt nothing under her feet. They had already slid out from the bottom of the building. As Li Pan screamed, she suddenly stepped on the ground. Affected by inertia, she continued to rush forward. Qin Zhao let go of Li Pan so that she wouldn't get hurt. After running for a dozen meters, Li Pan fell to the ground. Qin Zhao landed on the ground steadily. He only took 2 steps forward to get rid of the inertia. Li Pan jumped up and roared, I'm going to kill you. Qin Zhao allowed Li Pan's weak fists to hit him. Okay, you've vented enough. Let's get down to business. At this moment, Li Pan recovered a little and turned around to look at the tilting building in front of her. She couldn't believe that she had really slid down the glass wall. No matter how she looked at it, it was impossible. More accurately, it was impossible for her to be unscathed. But in the end, she was really unscathed. At least, ignoring the fact that she had fallen to the ground, she was indeed unscathed. Of course, Li Pan wasn't a physicist, so she didn't think too long. She couldn't understand it anyway, so there was no need to waste her brain power. Qin Zhao didn't plan on explaining it to her either. Before coming in, Qin Zhao had already found a battlefield in the real Istanbul city. As a mirror image of Istanbul, the layout here was basically the same as Istanbul. This was Istanbul's city hall. In front of the hall was a park square. The view was wide and the terrain was flat. Help me carry my daughter. Chen Zhao placed Jerlin in Li Pan's arms. Go sit there. Tell me if you're hungry. Carrying Jerlin, Li Pan found a place to sit. Chen Zhao started to get busy. Li Pan looked at Chen Zhao's figure. She saw Chen Zhao stomp a hole in the originally flat and solid ground and then stuff a white crystal into the hole. She didn't understand Chen Zhao's intentions, nor did she know what he'd stuffed in. Chen Zhao circled around the area, the diameter getting bigger and bigger. Not long after, the entire square was surrounded by countless small pits. Li Pan looked at the countless holes around her. She guessed that this was some kind of magic array. But what shocked her more was the way Chen Zhao had set it all up. Chen Zhao had only made each hole with one step. This method wasn't difficult for any spiritualist. But the problem was that there wasn't 1, 10, or 100 small pits here. Instead, there were thousands of them. From Li Pan's angle, she felt like she was on a beehive. After working for more than an hour, Chen Zhao finally finished. Then, he went to Li Pan and took out some food. Hungry. Chapter 23:16. Chen Zhao and Li Pan both ate something. Then they sat down and rested, waiting for the time to pass. There was no obvious change in time in Desolate Bazaar. However, Chen Zhao and Li Pan could feel the changes in the spiritual qi. The spiritual qi seemed to have become denser. Beep! Just then, Chen Zhao heard his phone beep. It was 7:00. For some reason, Li Pan suddenly felt pressured. An unbearable pressure surged into her heart. Just then, Chen Zhao stood up and started moving his limbs. Hey, is it about to start? Li Pan became even more nervous. The third night. She didn't think that she would have to face the third night one day. Yes, Chen Zhao replied indifferently. At this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the originally dusky sky. Then, the crack grew bigger and bigger. Li Pan looked up at the sky, shock written all over her face. That was because the crack in the sky was actually an eye. A huge, blood-red eye. It spanned the entire sky and seemed even larger than Desolate Bazaar. What was this? Something like that would appear on the third night. What a joke. How could something like that appear on the third night? The huge eye's pupil moved left and right. In the end, it focused on where Chen Zhao was. No, more accurately, it was staring at little Jerlin. What is that? What happened? Li Pan asked in fear. Don't worry about anything, Chen Zhao said calmly. When I need your moonlight magic, just use it. You don't have to do anything before I ask you to. Hey, do you really think that's something that should have appeared? Li Pan's voice was filled with fear. Don't worry. My daughter is also on the third night. I'm very experienced, Chen Zhao answered perfunctorily. Then he waved his hand. Okay, looks like we're going to get busy. At that moment, a strange creature appeared in the gigantic red eye. When those things emerged from the red eye, they were only small dots due to the distance. But when they approached, Li Pan's scalp exploded. They were countless monsters. They were 100-meter-long winged, black-skinned snakes. There was an explosion of numbers. Chen Zhao frowned. The things in the sky weren't normal creatures, but they weren't hell creatures either. They didn't have a demonic aura. The angelic crystal he had set up beforehand did not work. Chen Zhao had thought that the attacking monsters on Silent Night were either spirits or hell creatures. Angelic crystals were extremely useful against both spirits and hell creatures. Moreover, with the angelic crystals he had set up, he was confident that he could destroy even a demon army led by a great lord. But in the end, what in the world was this monster that popped out? Wasn't Lilith deeply related to hell and demons? But why wasn't it a creature of the real world or a creature of hell? Their auras were very unfamiliar to Qin Zhao. "Let's run," Li Pan said while trembling with fear. "Can you outrun them?" Qin Zhao looked back at Lilith. "But, alright, it's none of your business now. I'll talk to you when I need you." Qin Zhao moved. He pushed off with both feet and shot into the sky. Spiderwebs appeared on the ground. What amazing jumping ability! Li Pan's eyes widened as she watched Qin Zhao soar into the sky. But Qin Zhao was just one person. Compared to the winged snakes, he was like an ant. Moreover, the direction he was jumping towards seemed to be the mouth of the leading snake. That's right. Damn. Is that guy committing suicide? Li Pan stood up abruptly and watched as Qin Zhao charged into the snake's mouth. Then, the giant snake closed its mouth. It's over, Li Pan's mind went blank. He's dead. That guy is dead for sure. Then it's my turn. Damn, why did I agree to face Third Knight? He died a quick death, but what did he mean by throwing his daughter to him? What should I do now? Just as Li Pan was hesitating, the body of the snake in the sky suddenly twisted. Then it exploded in the sky. Blood rained down from the sky. Qin Zhao was holding a huge heart. This huge heart was dug out from the body of the giant snake. He could feel that the heart contained a large amount of magic power. Based on his past experience, the more magic power there was in the flesh, the better the quality. Thus, Qin Zhao had left the heart behind out of habit. Li Pan's jaw dropped. She stared at Qin Zhao, who was hovering in the sky with the heart raised high. That guy can fly. That guy could fly, and he could even move such a huge thing. Why didn't he just fly me down from the building? Li Pan was filled with resentment. Suddenly, a bloody mouth bit at Qin Zhao. Be careful. Li Pan called out in alarm, but her voice couldn't travel that far. Qin Zhao started moving again. He turned around and punched. In an instant, the snake's body exploded, blood and flesh splattering everywhere. Li Pan's pupils constricted. Yesterday, when she and Ederson fought Qin Zhao, she felt that Qin Zhao was real. He really had mercy. Yesterday, Qin Zhao had also punched Ederson. But Ederson had only been unconscious for half a day. He didn't explode like the snake in the sky. Qin Zhao felt that it was a pity that he had gone too far. Qin Zhao put away the heart in his hand and wondered if he should find a chef who knew how to cook magic creatures. After all, he had collected many magic creatures, but he had only cooked them using the most ordinary methods. Qin Zhao felt that there should be more ways to cook these magic creatures to release all the magic power in the meat. As Qin Zhao's thoughts ran wild, he killed another dozen snakes in the sky. Compared to the total number, it was only a small portion. But Qin Zhao's face was full of grief. Oh no, I didn't collect their hearts in time. Li Pan's expression had completely frozen. She couldn't believe her eyes. It must be an illusion. It must be an illusion. But the more she hypnotized herself, the more numb her scalp became. That guy was so powerful. In front of him, the giant snakes in the sky couldn't fight back at all. It was a one-sided massacre. Chapter 23:17. Suddenly, Li Pan saw a huge head fly toward her. She squatted on the ground in fear, hugging her head and shivering. But the next moment, she heard a whistling sound. When she looked up again, she saw the huge head fall a few meters away. Looking at the huge head and comparing it to himself, Li Pan could clearly feel how small he was, as well as how terrifying this huge snake was. But no matter how terrifying it was, Chen Zhao would destroy it. The real monster wasn't the snakes, but Chen Zhao, who was crazily slaughtering. However, compared to Chen Zhao's slaughter, the number of snakes was a bit too much. Moreover, more snakes kept coming out of the bloody eye in the sky. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry. If they were all snakes, it would be easy for him. No matter how many ants there were, they were still ants. In movies, ants that could devour humans did exist in tropical rainforests, but they were unnatural ant colonies. Normal ants couldn't devour humans. Chen Zhao would rather face a group of ants. But there were really too many ants. Chen Zhao wanted to kill them one by one, but his killing speed couldn't keep up with the snake's increasing speed. More importantly, Chen Zhao was a bit greedy. He still wanted to collect the snake's hearts. Li Pan also realized that Chen Zhao's killing speed couldn't keep up with the snake's appearance. She started to worry. There were so many snakes. Chen Zhao might not be able to kill that many even if he died of exhaustion. Moreover, his killing speed seemed to have slowed down. Was he tired already? But he hadn't even killed 1% of the snakes. It seemed that it was too much for him to do it alone. Chen Zhao finally stopped. He put away the last snake heart and turned to look at the serpent that was still charging at him. The snakes were already huge, and there were tens of thousands of them. From below, they looked like dark clouds that covered the sky. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and slowly raised his palms. He was activating the power of the world. Li Pan's pupils constricted. She couldn't help but rub her eyes. She wasn't sure if she was seeing things. There was a pair of incomparably huge hands scooping up from below. Almost all the giant snakes were enveloped by the pair of giant palms. All the giant snakes gave up on attacking and turned to flee upwards. However, their speed of escape was clearly not fast enough. The giant palm began to close, and the number of snakes that could escape the range of the giant palm was pitiful. Rumble, accompanied by a thunderous roar, the giant palm finally closed completely. What flowed out from the cracks of the giant palm was a large amount of flesh and blood. Li Pan's face was drained of blood as he stared at Chen Zhao in shock. She felt her scalp go numb. How could he attack such a monster? Before coming here, he was still planning how to fight back. At this moment, she could only rejoice like never before. At the same time, she also understood why Chen Zhao was confident that he could protect his daughter through the third night alone. What kind of magic is that? Does China have such terrifying magic? With Li Pan's realm, it was clear that she couldn't understand what a Sherpa was. Originally, Li Pan thought that this would be a bitter battle. But Chen Zhao ended the battle easily. But why hasn't he come down yet? What is he looking at? Chen Zhao looked up at the sky and the huge blood-red eye in the sky. Suddenly, Chen Zhao raised his arm and released a beam of holy light at the eye. However, the holy light cannon penetrated the blood-red eye, and nothing happened. It wasn't a creature's eye. It was probably created by some kind of magic or some kind of entrance. It was like a magic formation, but not in the normal form. Just when Li Pan thought that everything was over, hands suddenly reached out from the blood-red eye. There were so many of them that it made one's hair stand on end. They were so densely packed that it made one's scalp go numb. It looked like the surface of the eye was covered in fur. This strange scene sent chills down one's spine. Just then, all the palms spread out from the center like a wave. In the center of the countless palms, a woman's figure slowly appeared. Chen Zhao frowned. It wasn't because of the woman's strength, but because this strange entrance made him uncomfortable. As the woman descended, the palms started leaving the blood-red eye and forming a pair of incomparably huge wings on her back. The wings extended for at least 20 to 30 kilometers. Li Pan couldn't stand still. Her legs were weak. The terrifying scene and the terrifying woman made her scalp go numb. The woman stopped when she was more than 100 meters above the ground. She looked down at Qin Zhao. At the same time, more monsters appeared from the blood-red eye in the sky. They also had wings and were similarly huge. They looked like crocodiles, but they were even fiercer and scarier. However, Qin Zhao was still most concerned about the woman. She gave off an ominous aura. Without any warning, the attack came. The woman pointed at Qin Zhao. The wings formed from countless palms reformed into a huge fist and punched at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao also raised his right arm and punched with the power of the world. Rumble, there was an earth-shattering sound, accompanied by a huge impact. Li Pan saw the ground in front of her rise continuously. Soon, it would reach her. Just then, a black barrier blocked the impact. Li Pan looked at the black barrier in surprise. Soon, she realized that the black barrier had spread out from under Qin Zhao's feet. Qin Zhao's punch dissipated and the woman's huge fist was also shattered. However, new wings quickly formed on the woman's back. Qin Zhao had originally thought that the wings formed from the arms were made of flesh and blood. Now, it seemed that the wings weren't real either. Instead, they were made from magic. Just then, the wings on the woman's back suddenly flashed with countless light spots. The colors of the electricity were very bright and beautiful, as if the bright stars were embellishing the wings. But very quickly, Qin Zhao and Li Pan realized what those dots of light were. They were magic. Many, many spells. Tens of thousands were indescribable. They were hundreds of thousands, millions of spells. Even Qin Zhao was shocked. It was an unprecedented scene. The woman could release millions of spells at the same time. What did that mean? Even if each spell was of the lowest level, it was still millions of spiritualists releasing spells at the same time. Moreover, Qin Zhao could feel that many of the spells in the chaotic magic waves were extremely powerful. Chapter 23:18. Both Li Pan and Qin Zhao watched as the countless spells fell like rain. The overwhelming number of spells caused Li Pan to despair. Qin Zhao lifted his finger and a dark curtain rose. It blocked most of the spells. The spells landed on the curtain of darkness, creating ripples. Soon, the curtain of darkness was riddled with holes. Spells passed through the dark curtain and shot toward Qin Zhao. It's over. Li Pan's mind went blank. Qin Zhao's curtain of darkness didn't even block a third of it. Then, he looked at the densely packed spells. That was not a situation that humans could face. Devour. The mouth of gluttony on Qin Zhao's right arm opened. He hadn't used the mouth of gluttony's devour ability in a long time. This time, Qin Zhao couldn't do anything. The woman had too many skills. However, as soon as Qin Zhao activated the mouth of gluttony, his entire right arm detached from his shoulder. It fell to the ground and turned into a huge beast. The beast looked exactly the same as Beelzebub Zophie's original form. It was just that it was not as huge as Beelzebub Zophie. Li Pan was dumbfounded. What the hell was this? The glutton formed from Qin Zhao's arm opened its bloody mouth. All of the magic was instantly sucked in by a powerful suction force. Qin Zhao was confused. His right arm had left his shoulder and turned into the gluttonous beast at the same time. But he was still connected to the glutton behemoth. His every thought could be transmitted to the gluttony behemoth. After devouring countless spells, all the energy was gathered by the glutton behemoth's mouth and compressed into a colorful energy ball. Bang! All the energy in the energy ball burst out in an instant. The energy ball was too fast, and the woman didn't have time to dodge. Half of her body was directly penetrated by the energy ball, leaving only the lower half of her body. Meanwhile, the energy ball continued to shoot towards the sky like a hot knife through butter. He flew 10,000 meters into the sky before exploding. All the haze and dark clouds were swept away in an instant. The light released by the energy ball was like a supernova explosion. The scene was incomparable and indescribable. The entire sky became incomparably pure. All the monsters that came out of the blood-red eyes were instantly wiped out. The beast of gluttony turned back into Qinzhao's arm. The woman in the sky finally revealed a look of surprise. At this moment, she only had half of her body left, but there was no sign of pain on her face. You are very powerful. For thousands of years, I have never met a human as powerful as you. The woman finally spoke. I should feel honored to be praised by the first witch, Lilith. Even the few gods I've met aren't as powerful as you. Lilith? Li Pan was also shocked. She did not know Lilith's true identity. However, there was basically no one in the spirit world who didn't know of him. This woman is Lilith. The legendary Lilith. Who is that girl to you? Lilith pointed at little Jerlin in Li Pan's arms. My daughter. Looks like our battle is unavoidable, Lilith said. Are you sure you want to give up your thousands of years of life just to be killed by me? It's indeed difficult for me to defeat you alone, Lilith said. Li Pan could not help but exclaim. Even the first witch admitted that she was no match for this man. Just what realm had this man's strength reached? However, Qinzhao could tell what Lilith was implying. Just then, the blood-red eyes in the sky gathered again. At the same time, another figure appeared. It was the figure of a woman. The same appearance, the same powerful magic. It was also inauspicious and unsettling. 1, 2, 3, 4, in the end, 6 came out. Including the first Lilith, there were 7 in total. Every one of them was immeasurably powerful and gave off a terrifying aura. Although their auras were equally powerful, they were different. All of them were existences that Qinzhao could not ignore. Confusion appeared on Qinzhao's face. The 7 Liliths looked exactly the same and were all extremely powerful. Was this her clone spell? Or was it some kind of puppet spell where she changed their appearances and made them all look the same? Suddenly, a sword-wielding Lilith attacked. The sword-wielding Lilith's attack was extremely fierce. She raised her sword above her head and when it fell down, it turned into a sky-piercing sword aura. Qinzhao stepped forward and faced the aura, using his body to take it head-on. Rumble, in an instant, the surrounding buildings were all destroyed. The 7 Liliths all raised their eyebrows. They did not expect Qinzhao to be able to use his body to take such an attack head-on. However, they did not hesitate because of this. One of them, Lilith, pointed her wand at Qinzhao. Void, bind. Qinzhao immediately felt something invisible binding him. The binding force was quite strong, but it could only bind him for 10 seconds at most. Just as Qinzhao was about to break free, a huge force came from behind. A Lilith appeared behind Qinzhao and kicked him away. Qinzhao landed heavily on the ground. He had to admit that the kick had indeed hurt him. The 3 Liliths had attacked. They each had a different magic system. However, they were all indescribably powerful. All of them were powerful beings that Qinzhao could not ignore. Moreover, they were not clones. They were all complete individuals. Giving up actually requires courage, the first Lilith said. When you face an irresistible power, you should learn to give up. Cowardice is cowardice. I will never find excuses for it, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Your persistence will not bring you victory. Your daughter will not be hurt. She will become extremely powerful and have an almost eternal life. You should be happy and proud of this, the Lilith said. Change into your cheap appearances first. Chen Zhao thought of what the 23rd Blood Mary had said. Then he looked at the 7 Liliths that had appeared at the same time. It suddenly occurred to him that she, or their purpose. They were assimilating every awakened of nirvana. They would become shells with unified thoughts and power. Therefore, if his daughter fell into their hands, her thoughts would be completely erased. It was no different from death. If you know what your daughter has lost because of your stubbornness, you will regret it. Chen Zhao smiled and raised his middle finger. Chapter 23:19. The moment Chen Zhao raised his middle finger, Lilith of the strengthening faculty moved. Her figure was like a bolt of lightning, so fast that no one could catch her figure. But the moment she stopped, Chen Zhao's hand grabbed her neck. All the Lilith and Li Pan widened their eyes and stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Chen Zhao's arm shone with a dark light. Dark assimilation. No one has ever been able to challenge what I'm best at. As the strengthening Lilith struggled madly, Chen Zhao used smile and cruelty to increase his strength bit by bit. Great power. Eternal life. That's all. Stop. All the Lilith shouted at Chen Zhao with angry voices and incredulous gazes. No. You can't do this. No, I can. Chen Zhao grabbed the strengthening Lilith's head with his other hand and twisted it hard. The head was still in Chen Zhao's hand, but her body had already fallen to the ground powerlessly. You deserve to die. A Lilith, whose entire body was emitting black light, exuded endless darkness. Her arms were raised high, and behind her, a demon Dharma idol filled with darkness appeared. However, a substance darker than her surged towards her. It instantly swallowed her and her Dharma of evil. Everyone could still see her struggling in the waves of darkness. Chen Zhao widened his eyes. He still had a smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with ferocity. I should teach you a lesson. When one of you can't beat me, it means that all of you can't beat me. Numbers won't bring you victory, it will only make you die more thoroughly. In the end, the dark Lilith completely sank in the waves of darkness. This sent a chill down the spines of all the other Lilith. An unprecedented chill. You might not know, but I've not only defeated many evil and darkness in the past, but I've also swallowed them and turned them into my food. Chen Zhao licked his lips. You want to swallow us? Lilith looked at Chen Zhao coldly. Do you really think you can beat me? Us? Why not? Suddenly, the remaining 5 Lilith attacked Chen Zhao at the same time. They were all using strengthening attacks, pure physical attacks. Boom, 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 Chen Zhao was almost stunned by their attacks. Because of the passive situation, Chen Zhao could only try to distance himself. 5 terrifying enhancing type spirit controllers. Moreover, all 5 Liliths were as powerful as Chen Zhao in his normal state. What do you think? Aren't you surprised? The attack of the 5 Liliths just now was just a warm-up. Chen Zhao frowned at the 5 Liliths. Their powers are interconnected. No, they were not interconnected. If each of them had the power of the enhancement element, just now, when he used the dark magma to swallow Dark Lilith, she could have used her strengthening physique to escape, instead of struggling in the dark magma and being swallowed by it. Chen Zhao's eyes widened in realization. So that's how it is. When I kill one Lilith, the other Lilith will also receive the magic of the dead Lilith. You realized it too late. From the moment you killed the first one, you already had no chance of winning. What about the second one? Chen Zhao's smile became even crueler. The second Lilith that I devoured doesn't seem to have her power return to you. The expressions of the 5 Liliths changed involuntarily. Seems like I guessed correctly. You're all connected. One's death will cause power to appear in the others, but your power can't appear out of nowhere. Chen Zhao glanced at the 5 Liliths. At the same time, he used his clone technique. 32 Chen Zhao appeared at the same time, each with the same power as Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao used 10,000 combinations again. The 32 Chen Zhao merged into one. 32 times increase. Next, surging spiritual qi surged toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's body turned from black to gold. Giant spirit transformation. 10 times increase. With each increase, Chen Zhao's aura became even more terrifying. Hurry! Kill him! All the Liliths attacked in an instant. But the next moment, the spells all pierced through Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's body turned into a stream of energy. This time, Chen Zhao chose to attack the sword-wielding Lilith. Lilith swung her sword at Chen Zhao. But her blade and sword aura all missed. Chen Zhao instantly appeared before Lilith. Chen Zhao reached out and pressed on Lilith's chest. Her chest caved in. With a cry, Lilith spat out a mouthful of blood. Chen Zhao grabbed Lilith's sword-wielding hand and twisted it. Lilith screamed again. As if he was using a sword himself, Chen Zhao grabbed Lilith's hand and slashed at herself. Whoosh! One of Lilith's arms was cut off by her own sword. Chen Zhao slashed again, and Lilith's other arm was also cut off. Chen Zhao casually tossed the sword in his hand. The blade pierced through Lilith's chest and pinned her to the ground. Save me! Lilith screamed in pain. The other 4 Liliths attacked Chen Zhao again. But the spells couldn't do any actual damage to Chen Zhao. Show yourself! The Lilith who'd used incorporeal spells earlier shouted. Chen Zhao suddenly turned from an energy body to a solid one. Ha! Chen Zhao didn't expect his energy body to turn back into a solid one. But before he could figure it out, the other 4 Liliths' attacks shot at him again. Boom, 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 the surrounding terrain had completely changed under the terrifying attacks. The original square was now a wasteland. There wasn't a single complete building on the ground in the entire street. If Li Pan and Zhilin didn't have Chen Zhao's protection, they would have been vaporized in the first round of attacks. The intensity of the attacks was no less than the bombardment of an army equipped with the most advanced weapons. Chen Zhao was also very uncomfortable under such attacks. If he allowed them to continue attacking him, even he might not be able to withstand it. Not only did they receive the spells of their fallen comrades, but they also received their power and magic. This was also why Chen Zhao didn't kill Lilith earlier. Devour. Chen Zhao's right arm turned into a glutton beast again, crazily devouring the incoming spells. This damn thing will devour our spells, one of the Liliths yelled. We can't use directional spells. Change to area of effect spells. Both sides were in a stalemate. Chapter 23:20. Just then, Chen Zhao realized that his body was being energized. Lilith's spell had forcibly turned Chen Zhao from an energy body to a solid one. However, Lilith's spell didn't last long on Chen Zhao. When Chen Zhao's body was completely energized, he turned into a beam of light. What? Oh no, my spell lost its effect. Hurry up and make him solid again. This time, Chen Zhao wouldn't give Lilith a chance. Chen Zhao attacked the ethereal Lilith first. However, the moment Chen Zhao got close to Lilith, a barrier separated Qin Zhao from the ethereal Lilith. It was a wholly defensive barrier. Wholly defensive spells had always been the strongest in all magic systems. In particular, there were a few wholly defensive spells that were known to be indestructible barriers. Of course, there weren't any indestructible barriers in this world. In the past, there were only such legends because no one had reached the upper limit. The barrier in front of Qin Zhao was the immortal barrier. It was said to be a holy spell that could block all evil. However, Qin Zhao didn't hesitate at all. He crashed into the barrier head-on. There was no violence. Billions of tons of force instantly spread on the barrier. The immortal barrier shattered like a mirror. Behind the immortal barrier, Lilith and Light Lilith spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Light Lilith was hurt because the immortal barrier she'd created with all her magic was shattered by Qin Zhao's brute force. Lilith was hurt because she'd been hit by the shock wave of the immortal barrier's shattering. When the ethereal Lilith saw that Qin Zhao had turned into a stream of light and appeared before her, she understood that it was all too late. The only thing Lilith could do was open her arms. With a relieved smile, she seemed to have given up struggling. However, Qin Zhao didn't plan to kill her. At least, he didn't plan to kill her directly. Qin Zhao grabbed Lilith's face. Dark lava surged out of his palm and seeped into her mouth, nose, and ears. Only then did Lilith react, but it was too late. The dark lava seeped into Lilith's body and took over everything. At the same time, it erased all of Lilith's self-awareness. Because of the activation of the soul key, Qin Zhao had the ability to devour soul fragments. When Qin Zhao wiped away Lilith's consciousness in the void, her soul also disintegrated. The fragments of her soul were naturally devoured by Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao obtained the truth about Lilith from her soul. The expressions of the other three Liliths changed drastically. Dark Lilith was completely devoured by the dark magma. The swordsman Lilith was nailed to the ground with her arms cut off. Lilith was completely controlled by Qin Zhao. Perhaps the strengthening type Lilith was the best choice. Although she was instantly killed by Qin Zhao, her power returned to her sisters. The remaining three Liliths were Liliths who could release endless magic through countless palms. She was the first Lilith to appear. Although she had been on the battlefield the longest, she only had half of her body left. The other two were Holy Light Lilith and Elemental Lilith. Qin Zhao glanced at the remaining three Lilith. Finally, his gaze landed on Holy Light Lilith. She was the real Lilith, the original body. More accurately, she was the original Lilith. The other Liliths also had Lilith's consciousness and thoughts, but they weren't the original Lilith. Before becoming a part of Lilith, the other Lilith had once been an individual with their own thoughts and consciousness. All of them had one thing in common. They had once awakened the nirvanic power. They were all nirvanic witches. They had all awakened on the second night, but they had all failed. On the brink of death, they accepted Lilith's conditions. They had to become a part of Lilith and exist as Lilith. The 7 Liliths were the former 7 nirvanic witches. They had existed in different eras. The so-called nirvanic witches had originally come from the church. Nirvanic witches represented abnormality and went against common sense. Nirvanic witch Lilith, the first witch. Who would have thought that she came from the church? She had once been a devout nun. But after she awakened, she had been used by the church of that era. Shamanism and Druidry had lost their foundation because of her attack. Shamanism, in particular, had almost been destroyed by her. But it was also during that process that she had broken away from the church's control. She had started the Dark Ages in Europe. She had made people understand what a demon was for the first time. Except for the original Lilith, the other Liliths could only be regarded as nirvanic witches, or Lilith's messengers. They were connected to each other through the nirvanic power, and their souls were completely entangled, becoming a symbiotic body. This was the truth of Nirvanic witches. There was only one spell, and that was to make everyone else a part of the Nirvanic witches. Ordinary people or ordinary spiritualists could do the same, but because they didn't have magic power or had different magic attributes, they couldn't have the same power as Lilith and the symbiotic bodies. This was a great fortune in misfortune. After all, if everyone could become a part of Lilith and have the same power as Lilith, the world would have been overturned by Lilith long ago. The awakening of the Nirvanic witches was very rare. Since ancient times, apart from little Gerlin, there had only been 9 people who had awakened. 2 of them were successful, so they didn't need to accept Lilith's conditions. Of course, it could also be because the 2 Nirvanic witches had awakened on the first night, so their talent wasn't as good as the Nirvanic witches who had awakened on the second night. Little Gerlin was the only Nirvanic witch who had awakened on the 3rd night. At the same time, because of little Gerlin's extraordinary talent, Lilith had become Gerlin's calamity on the night of her awakening. Chen Zhao also knew Lilith's secret of being almost immortal. She had once signed a contract with a demon lord. The content of the contract was to send the demon army to the modern world, and the condition was to split the demon lord's lifespan and hers equally. In other words, Demon Lord Lilith's own lifespan would be split equally between the 2. This was the secret of her immortality. A demon lord's lifespan was measured in units of tens of thousands. However, Lilith was a very ambitious person. She wasn't satisfied with the current situation. She even found a new world and gained complete control over it. In the past 2,000 years, she had been experimenting in that new world and created the Nirvanic army. They were the countless monsters that Qin Zhao had fought before. Chapter 23-21. The 3 Lilith glanced at each other. They could feel it too. If they continued fighting like this, Qin Zhao would kill them one by one sooner or later. If one of them died, the power would return to the other sisters. Maybe it wouldn't be so difficult for them. Even if only one sister was left in the end, she would be the strongest. But Qin Zhao didn't give them this chance at all. Let's go. Holy Light Lilith shouted. The other 2 Lilith rose into the air too. But Qin Zhao wouldn't give them the chance to escape. He immediately turned into a stream of light and chased after the 3 Lilith. The first one Qin Zhao caught up to was the first Lilith. Her wings made of countless palms didn't give her extreme speed. Instead, they became her burden. Seeing that Qin Zhao had caught up to her, Lilith stopped running. She turned around and opened her huge wings. Countless spells shot toward Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao still had the momentum of wind and lightning in the overwhelming magic attacks. He charged before Lilith, not caring about the spells falling on him at all. Because of the distance, most of the spells couldn't focus on Qin Zhao at all. Without hesitation, Qin Zhao poured the dark lava into Lilith's mouth, nose, and ears. Corroded by the dark lava, Lilith fell from the sky. Ignoring Lilith, Qin Zhao chased up into the sky again. Only the original Holy Light Lilith and Elemental Lilith were left. Qin Zhao's speed was much faster than the 2 Lilith. Just then, Elemental Lilith stopped too. She looked at Holy Light Lilith not far away. Elemental Lilith opened her arms. Instantly, the entire sky above Wasteland Market turned crimson. In an instant, streaks of meteors fell from the sky. Qin Zhao raised an eyebrow. Was she going to plow the already ruined Wasteland Market again? Meteor fall. This was the extreme of elemental fire magic. The terrifying elements turned into meteors that fell from the sky. Qin Zhao looked at Elemental Lilith, and then at Li Pan and Gerlin below. If he continued chasing, they might be in danger. Although he didn't want to, he still gave up on killing the remaining 2 Liliths in the end. If he didn't have any worries, he would definitely kill them all. If he let Lilith escape this time, an enemy of her level would definitely think of ways to increase his strength and target him at the same time. At their level, it might not be easy for them to break through their current realm, but if it was targeted, it wouldn't be too difficult. If they met again, Chen Zhao might not be so relaxed. Of course, these worries were for the future. Chen Zhao was most concerned about Zhilin. He landed on the ground and helped little Zhilin and Lupin block the apocalyptic magic. Starfall's goal was to cover as much area as possible. It didn't pose much of a threat to a single target. At least for people of their level, it was the same feeling as enjoying the waves on the beach on a sunny day. But to a minor spiritualist like Li Pan, this was no different from an apocalyptic disaster. Chen Zhao looked back at the sky. Elemental Lilith and Holy Light Lilith had already rushed into the blood eye. Then, the bloody eye slowly closed. In the end, it completely disappeared. But the wasteland market was completely covered in flames. Just then, little Zhilin's eyelids twitched, and she slowly opened her eyes. Papa. Zhilin looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. Papa, where is this? Wow, there's so much fire. Zhilin was born bold. She wasn't afraid at all. Seeing the flames around her, her first reaction wasn't fear. Instead, it was surprise. Zhilin wasn't afraid, but Lupin was scared half to death. The man in front of him was simply a monster in human skin. Papa, who is she? Are you looking for a mistress? Chen Zhao slapped Zhilin's head angrily. Stop talking nonsense. Then, Chen Zhao left the wasteland market with little Zhilin and Lupin. The air outside was still more comfortable. Even Chen Zhao didn't like breathing the burning air in the wasteland market. When the car drove into the center of Istanbul, Chen Zhao stopped and said to Lupin, "Okay, you can go now." Lupin didn't say anything. She opened the car door and got out obediently. Wait. Chen Zhao stopped Li Pan. Lupin almost peed her pants. She looked at Chen Zhao with a sad face. I won't tell anyone what I saw today. Here's yours. Chen Zhao handed Lupin a check. Lupin almost thought that Chen Zhao was going to kill her. Lupin put the check away. Before she could thank him, Chen Zhao had already left with little Zhilin. When Chen Zhao returned to the hotel room and was about to tell Fei Lai that he was safe, he realized that there were people in the room. He opened the door and saw Bifla, Zhang Tianyi, and 23rd Blood Mary in the room. Why are you here? Chen Zhao asked in surprise. Ha! Is it over? You won. Zhang Tianyi asked. Of course. How's Lilith? How strong is she? Very strong. Unbelievably strong, Chen Zhao said. Tell us in detail. For cultivators at their level, it was very important to improve themselves through experience and communication. If they needed each other's help, they could even share the secret manuals and techniques of their respective sections. Chen Zhao started to slowly explain his battle with Lilith. Of course, he left out some details. However, Chen Zhao explained Lilith's situation in great detail. For example, he predicted Lilith's strength level. Everyone's brows were sometimes furrowed and sometimes relaxed. Sometimes they were deep in thought, and sometimes they nodded. In the end, Zhang Tianyi concluded, Lilith alone should be about as strong as Bifla. No, I'm stronger than any of them, Bifla said coolly. I'm confident that I can take on one. I can probably take on two, 23rd Blood Mary said. I can take on 7, but I can't do it as easily as Chen Zhao, Zhang Tianyi said. If it were me, I might have to fight them for 3 to 5 days. All of them had their own small worlds, so they had almost endless magic power. Thus, it was normal for them to fight for 3 to 5 days. Zhang Tianyi looked at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao has some unorthodox skills, but his battle techniques are still focused on his strength and speed. They're simple and singular, but it's precisely because of this that 7 Lilith are the hardest to deal with. Now that 2 Liliths have escaped, if they fight again, how do you think Lilith will try to defeat Qin Zhao? Chapter 23-22. Everyone sunk into deep thought. Just then, Zhang Tianyi said, there are 2 ways to defeat Qin Zhao. One is to defeat him with greater power, and the other is to defeat him by restraining him. As he spoke, Zhang Tianyi looked at the crowd again. Which of these 2 ideas do you think is more likely? The 23rd Blood Mary said, theoretically speaking, my little world can actually suppress Qin Zhao, but it's not that simple. Even if there's a similar way to suppress Qin Zhao, it's still very difficult to do it. Your small world can't restrain him completely. Zhang Tianyi shook his head. To restrain Qin Zhao, you need to make him lose his ability to move, not just restrain him. Everyone was discussing how to restrain him, but Qin Zhao didn't take it to heart. This was a normal conversation. No one had any bad intentions. What about power that surpasses Qin Zhao? Biflo looked at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao shook his head. It's probably more difficult than making me lose my ability to move. At least, I've met some spiritualists who can make me temporarily lose my ability to move. But it's probably very difficult to surpass my current power, unless it's something several levels higher than me. Didn't Qin Zhao say that he controlled one of Lilith's bodies and learned from her soul fragments that Lilith controlled a small world and conducted crazy experiments in that small world? We don't know anything about that small world, so it's hard to be sure that there aren't any powerful creatures in that world. For example, dragons. Perhaps ordinary dragons can't threaten Qin Zhao, and even dragons at the level of dragon fathers can't compete with Qin Zhao, but what about dragons at the level of dragon kings? If Lilith modifies them again, will they have a chance to surpass Qin Zhao? There's indeed such a possibility, but you've overlooked one point. Even if a dragon of such a level really exists in that small world, does Lilith really have the ability to defeat or even kill a dragon of the Dragon King level? Of course, the possibility was one thing. Theoretically, it was indeed possible. They weren't discussing how to surpass Qin Zhao now. Instead, they were discussing the various possibilities. It wasn't really possible. It was like a group of rich people discussing how to defeat a certain rich person. There were actually many possibilities to defeat a certain rich person. But in reality, it was much more complicated. Moreover, this kind of discussion would allow Qin Zhao to realize more possibilities. This made him even more cautious. Therefore, this kind of discussion is not a bad thing. Everyone suggested various possibilities. Just then, Qin Zhao felt a familiar feeling. Old Zhang, I have something to do, Qin Zhao said, standing up. Help me take care of my daughter. I need to go out for a while. Everyone looked at Qin Zhao in surprise. Qin Zhao looked very anxious. No one knew what could make Qin Zhao so anxious. Even his daughter was left to be taken care of by everyone. All right. No one intended to pursue the matter. Since Qin Zhao wasn't going to say it, it was probably his privacy. Qin Zhao left the hotel in a hurry. The next moment, he disappeared on the spot. Summon. The call from hell. But this time, Qin Zhao wasn't summoned away like before. Qin Zhao visited hell again. It was the familiar obsidian castle. However, Beelzebub Zophie was not there to welcome him. Qin Zhao had been to Obsidian Castle many times, so he knew the place quite well. He strolled around the Obsidian Castle. Just then, Chen Zhao felt a familiar and powerful aura. The owner of the aura also sensed Chen Zhao. A while later, Beelzebub Zophie appeared before Chen Zhao with his army. Human. How come it's you? Chen Zhao looked at Beelzebub Zophie and the army behind him. He almost thought that Zophie was going to fight him. Why not me? Did you summon me, or was it not you who summoned me? I thought the summon failed, Beelzebub Zophie said. Or rather, you've reached a level where even I can't summon you anymore. Beelzebub Zophie said. Chen Zhao was stunned. He immediately realized this possibility. In the past, both the handsome guy and Beelzebub Zophie had summoned him. He didn't even have time to react before being summoned to hell. However, the summoning this time seemed a little different. He wasn't summoned to hell immediately. Moreover, he'd come to hell on his own accord. Unknowingly, he was already as powerful as Beelzebub Zophie. When Beelzebub Zophie summoned Chen Zhao didn't appear immediately. That was why Zophie thought that the summon had failed. Fortunately, Beelzebub Zophie sensed Chen Zhao's aura and rushed over. It seems that we're on the same level now, Chen Zhao said, nodding. Unbelievable. Human lifespans aren't worth mentioning in my eyes, but you humans grow so fast that it's terrifying. Chen Zhao chuckled. He couldn't treat it as normal. What surprised Beelzebub Zophie the most was his investment. They were allies. At first, he'd only treated Chen Zhao as his son's protector. Beelzebub Zophie and Oris had treated Chen Zhao as their son's protector not because he was powerful. It was because he could enter hell and the human world freely. This was something that no creature in the two worlds could do. That was why Beelzebub Zophie had invested quite a lot in Chen Zhao. Of course, he'd invested more in Chen Zhao's relationship. He didn't expect that Chen Zhao was already on the same level as him. Oh, why did you summon me? I'm about to fight another lord. How's the preparation for the weapon I asked you to make for me? Oh, I've prepared it a long time ago. Chen Zhao slapped his head and took out a huge hammer. The hammer was 20 meters in diameter and there was a chain hanging from it. This was the weapon he'd prepared for Beelzebub Zophie. It was made by Ruan Faxben. Of course, the blueprint and most of the materials were provided by Beelzebub Zophie. The weapon was too huge for a regular person, but it was too small for Beelzebub Zophie's body. Beelzebub Zophie's body was about the size of Obsidian Castle. In Beelzebub Zophie's eyes, the hammer was like a glass orb. However, Beelzebub Zophie stared at the hammer before him in a daze. I can feel the power contained in it. The weapon's seal is also made according to the magic veins you provided. You know how to operate it without me saying much. Chapter 23-23. Beelzebub Zophie lifted the hammer and tried to use the seal. The hammer started shrinking, but not by too much. It was originally 20 meters in diameter, but after using the curse, it shrunk to 10 meters in diameter. Others couldn't use this weapon, especially demons. This was especially true for demons because there were many angelic crystals hidden in the chain balls. All of them were perfect crystals too. Even a great lord-ranked demon would be injured by this attack. This was also Beelzebub Zophie's ultimate weapon. Demons couldn't make this weapon. That was why Beelzebub Zophie had asked Chen Zhao to make it for him. Beelzebub Zophie was very satisfied with this weapon. This weapon doesn't have a name yet. It's been around since the beginning, Beelzebub Zophie said. It's called Kingslayer. Chen Zhao was surprised. Although the weapon was embedded with large amounts of angelic crystals, it didn't have enough energy. Although this weapon was embedded with many angelic crystals, it was still made by Ruan Faceeye. With Qin Zhao's current knowledge, he could even destroy this weapon. Even if angelic crystals countered demons, could it really kill a demon king? It's not complete, Beelzebub Sophie said. Qin Zhao was stunned for a moment, but he quickly realized what Beelzebub Sophie meant. Alchemists in the human world probably couldn't make a weapon that could kill a demon king. Even if they had all the materials and blueprints, it was still impossible. It was like a group of ants. If you gave them the blueprints for a cannon, could they really make a cannon? It was clearly impossible. Beelzebub Sophie's eyes lit up. When do you plan to fight the enemy lord? Qin Zhao asked. Beelzebub Sophie licked his lips. How about now? If you help me, I'll give you half of the spoils. Me? Qin Zhao fell into deep thought. His bellicose nature seemed to be responding to him. Beelzebub Sophie didn't rush Qin Zhao. Instead, he waited quietly for Qin Zhao's reply. That demon king won't attack you when he sees you attacking his subordinates, right? Qin Zhao asked. Do you think I'll fight a demon king recklessly? Beelzebub Sophie said confidently. It's very dangerous to steal a demon king's throne, but I'm not completely unprepared. Do you have any way to restrain the demon king? Of course I can't stop a demon king. Only a demon king can, Beelzebub Sophie said. Don't tell me you can make use of the other demon kings. Using the word use was a very dangerous thing to do with the demon king. Qin Zhao felt that it would be even more dangerous if Beelzebub Sophie did that. No, I'm not using the second demon king to restrain him. I'm relying on His Majesty's protection. Your Majesty. King of Gluttony. Yes. Is your bloodline close to the King of Gluttony? His Majesty and I are within 10 generations of each other, so we can be considered close relatives. However, my protection isn't because of my bloodline. It's because my father was once favored by His Majesty. My father made contributions for His Majesty, so His Majesty promised that as long as he and his children don't attack demons above their level, they won't attack us. My father didn't understand at the time, but now it seems that His Majesty has seen the future. All of Qin Zhao's knowledge of the King of Gluttony came from Belial. Only a demon king of the same level could casually comment on another demon king. Belial thought of Beelzebub as a gourmet. A gourmet who would do anything for food. Qin Zhao had reservations about this. However, Beelzebub was a demon king who took promises very seriously. He'd created a race for food. After that, he didn't burn the bridge after crossing it. Instead, he fulfilled his promise. To Qin Zhao, this was unbelievable. According to human thinking, burning the bridge after crossing it was what demons should do. That's why you dare to attack that demon king's subordinates? Yes. If that demon king dares to attack me, His Majesty definitely won't just stand by. I'm willing to help you, but you said you'd give me half of the spoils. Demon wealth doesn't seem to be of much use to me. Every lord's wealth is immeasurable. Are you sure it's useless to you? Qin Zhao touched his nose. Of course, he didn't think so. He was considering the gains and losses, as well as the risks involved. Just then, Beelzebub Sophie said, I only want all the territory and people. You can take anything else that you can. Qin Zhao suddenly looked at Qin Zhao. This was almost the entire wealth of a great lord. Are you serious? Of course. Are we leaving now? Wait for what? Iris, Beelzebub Sophie said. Just then, the sky above Obsidian Castle was suddenly covered by darkness. Qin Zhao raised his head and saw Iris' terrifying body. As the child of Iris and Beelzebub Sophie, Abydos was less than 1/10,000th of Iris' size. When Iris spread her wings, she was even larger than Obsidian Castle. At the same time, almost all the demons in Obsidian Castle were intimidated by her peerless dragon might. What level is Iris? She's the same as me and similar to you. We're both lords. Of course, because dragons and demons don't have the same origin, dragons have their own titles. She's a dragon king now. Come up, human. I'll allow you to stand on my back, Iris said. Beelzebub Zophi and Chen Zhao both flew onto Iris's back. Iris flapped her wings and flew into the distance with fiery clouds covering the sky. Iris flew very fast. At least, it was much faster than any plane Chen Zhao knew. But they still flew for 2 hours. Chen Zhao finally saw buildings on the ground. However, Iris spat out a mouthful of dragon breath from high up in the sky. In an instant, the buildings were erased. Was this a war between demons? Chen Zhao couldn't help but exclaim. The demons in the demon town below didn't even have time to react before they were completely wiped out. In the eyes of high-level demons, they were just ants. But this was the rule of demons. For humans, this was too cruel. But for demons, this was the norm. Chen Zhao wouldn't tell them that this was too cruel. Saying that at a time like this would only make him seem stupid. But he could only attack like this once. An even larger building complex appeared before them. That should be the main city. Iris and Beelzebub Zophi didn't plan to kill everyone here. They knew that population could bring them huge benefits. Chapter 23-24. However, when Iris's huge body appeared in the sky above the city, it still brought fear. The sky-covering wings whistled, filling the air with dust and heat waves as they surged into the city. At this moment, the city walls seemed meaningless. At this moment, 3 huge heads extended out from the main city below. They were 3 huge and strange dragon heads. The 3 dragon heads charged towards Eris, who was in the sky, without any explanation. Iris spat out a fiery red dragon's breath. The middle dragon head below also spat out a black dragon's breath. The 2 dragon breaths were equally matched and exploded in the sky. Chen Zhao looked at the 3 strange dragons. The 3 dragon heads actually had 3 auras, and they were all terrifying existences at the level of a great lord. Chen Zhao thought back to the 3-headed dragon he'd killed in the past. Compared to this 3-headed dragon, it was like a big shark and a small loach. Just then, Beelzebub Zophi dove down. As he fell, his body kept growing bigger and bigger. Bigger and bigger. When he landed on the ground, the entire main city trembled. Beelzebub Zophi also revealed his true form. Every step he took would cause the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. Chen Zhao was still on Iris's back. Suddenly, Chen Zhao felt something in the dark clouds in the sky. Just then, the dark clouds suddenly split apart. Immediately, an incomparably huge red bird spread its wings and slashed down with its sharp claws, clawing at Iris's back. Chen Zhao suddenly soared into the sky. He instantly turned into a beam of light and shot toward the red bird. The red bird was also extremely fast. The moment it sensed the threat, it immediately turned in the opposite direction. Hiss! Chen Zhao didn't get the expected effect, but he still tore off a large piece of flesh from the red bird's neck. The red bird also had the aura of a great lord. Its body radiated a terrifying and scorching aura. Where are you from? Why don't I know you at all? The red bird stared at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's aura was too strange. The red bird couldn't tell what Chen Zhao was. In addition, although Chen Zhao's energy form was humanoid, it was clearly not the human that the giant red bird remembered. The red bird was many times smaller than Chen Zhao, but it clearly didn't underestimate Chen Zhao. After all, being able to injure him with a single strike was not something he could underestimate. Chen Zhao wouldn't underestimate the giant red bird either. He used all his power. In the infernal realm, there were far too many existences stronger than him. After a brief stalemate, a conflict broke out without warning. Both sides had a tacit understanding and instantly launched their attacks. The huge red bird turned into a beam of red light and shot toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao also turned into a beam of white light and charged at the giant red bird. Bang! Even higher up in the battlefield below, a similarly destructive energy shockwave erupted. Chen Zhao was thrown more than 10 kilometers away and crashed into a mountain. Half of the mountain wall crumbled from the impact. The giant red bird was also knocked down from the sky. The place where he fell set off a monstrous wave of fire. Chen Zhao stood up again. Strength and speed. They were almost equally matched. Moreover, they could all be energized. At the spot where the giant red bird landed, the flames that had been set off began to shrink. The flames turned into a giant red egg, which gave birth to the giant red bird again. It was an unharmed giant red bird. Chen Zhao frowned. Was this guy an immortal bird? Chen Zhao had once killed an immortal bird when he was half a step away from the Shangqing state. He knew very well how tenacious an immortal bird's life force was. Therefore, even with his immense life force, he might not be able to defeat an immortal bird. Moreover, even though he had immense life force, it didn't mean that he was truly immortal. The giant red bird was unharmed. It spread its wings again and screeched at Chen Zhao. At the moment, Beelzebub Zophi and Iris were fighting against the three-headed dragon together. Damn, the three-headed demon was prepared. He actually invited Red Eagle. I hope that human can hold on. Iris couldn't escape either. The three-headed demon's power was beyond their imagination. The two of them fought against the three-headed demon together, but they actually couldn't gain the upper hand. Red Eagle was also terrifyingly powerful. Beelzebub Zophi and Iris were both secretly glad. Luckily, they'd invited Chen Zhao this time. If Chen Zhao hadn't stalled Red Eagle, they would have been in danger if Red Eagle joined the battle while they were focused on fighting the three-headed demon. The three-headed demon's power was simply too terrifying. It was fighting Beelzebub Zophi and Iris alone and still had the upper hand. It was evident how terrifying it was. The two battlefields weren't very far apart. At least, for existences at their level, it was only a step away. However, the two battlefields avoided each other tacitly. The three-headed demon and Red Eagle thought that they had the upper hand. If they rashly regrouped their opponents, there might be changes. Beelzebub Zophi, Iris, and Chen Zhao all thought that they should help each other after they finished off their enemies. The two battlefields were fighting fiercely. They couldn't decide the winner yet. They hadn't even hurt each other yet, but they were wildly destroying everything around them. Low-level demons didn't even have the right to join the battle. They didn't even have the right to watch. After a few fierce battles, Chen Zhao was already covered in injuries. His immense life force gave him powerful recovery abilities. However, even that couldn't keep up with the speed at which he was injured. Red Eagle, on the other hand, could be reborn again and again. No matter how serious his injuries were, he could recover after rebirth. Moreover, his recovery speed was too fast. Chen Zhao couldn't even stop him before Red Eagle finished rebirth. Looks like you're about to lose, Red Eagle said arrogantly and proudly. Defeating a powerful Great Lord was something even he could be proud of. Chen Zhao, on the other hand, was unprecedentedly calm. He stared at Red Eagle sternly and coldly. You haven't won yet. It's only a matter of time. Red Eagle glanced in the direction of his ally, the three-headed demon. Similarly, the three-headed demon single-handedly suppressed the two great lords. It seemed that he didn't need Qin Zhao's help anymore. You'll be my third great lord's food. I'm sure your flesh will be especially delicious. Magma dripped from Red Eagle's beak. He seemed to be imagining the taste of swallowing Qin Zhao into his stomach. Qin Zhao gulped. He suddenly thought of the terrifyingly powerful Great Lord before him. He definitely wouldn't taste bad. Chapter 23-25. It was Qin Zhao's first time. It was his first time wanting to eat Red Eagle so strongly. It was rare that both sides had the same thought. It seemed that Red Eagle had the absolute upper hand. The two were similar. They both specialized in strength and speed. In a situation where the strength and speed of both sides were similar, recovery ability became the key factor that determined the outcome of the battle. But Qin Zhao's recovery, which he'd always been proud of, was at a disadvantage in this battle. It was precisely this factor that almost defeated Qin Zhao. Red Eagle wasn't in a hurry to attack. He was accumulating power to give Qin Zhao one last attack. The flames on his body gradually retracted, causing his wings to become as red as colored glass. Qin Zhao was also recovering from his injuries. Red Eagle grinned and laughed proudly. Don't waste your life force. Everything you have is mine. I'll squeeze out all of your exuberant life force. It was rare that Qin Zhao didn't respond to Red Eagle's mockery. He was also making his final preparations. Red Eagle launched his final attack. His unparalleled speed turned him into a bolt of red lightning. The sky was almost split in half by the red lightning. But this time, Qin Zhao didn't choose to fight it head-on. Just like that, he hovered in place, looking at the red lightning that was speeding towards him. He raised his arm and grabbed at the air. A black trident appeared in his hand. An aura filled with death spread out. Qin Zhao didn't notice that the second internal alchemy left by Old Turtle on the black trident had lit up. Qin Zhao just focused all his power on his right arm. Then he threw the black trident at the red lightning. Qin Zhao threw the black trident with all his strength. It also turned into a bolt of black lightning, leaving a black path in the sky. For Red Eagle, the black trident was about the size of a needle. However, this needle carried with it an endless sense of death. It was a terror that could destroy all life. The black lightning pierced through the red lightning. The red lightning flew forward for another dozen kilometers. Then it suddenly turned downward and landed diagonally on the ground. High in the sky, Qin Zhao waved his hand. The black lightning drew an arc in the air and returned to his hand. This time, Red Eagle didn't rise from the ashes. His chest was directly pierced through, and the place that was pierced through did not heal. Instead, there was a patch of black, and the black continued to expand and spread. Red Hawk wanted to stand up again several times, but he couldn't steady himself. Qin Zhao suddenly descended from the sky and stepped heavily on the Red Eagle's head. He pressed the back onto the ground. What is that thing? Hong Ying roared. He wanted to know what exactly had defeated him. It's for fishing, Qin Zhao answered calmly. I can become your most humble servant. No, I don't need servants. I need food. Qin Zhao was still calm. So, please die. With that, he raised the black trident. Struggled intensely, he wanted to escape, wanted to resist. But the destructive power was currently corroding Red Eagle at a terrifying speed. Red Hawk's recovery ability, in front of this life-destroying power, seemed so insignificant and powerless. Even if Qin Zhao didn't do anything, Red Eagle wouldn't be able to get rid of that terrifying power. His death was inevitable, but Qin Zhao wanted to speed up the process. So, Chen Zhao's black trident pierced straight into Red Eagle's head. Red Eagle's wings and claws still shook violently a few times. Then, he lost all signs of life. Just then, the black on Red Eagle's corpse quickly retreated. It seeped out of his wound and then flowed back into the black trident. Ha! Chen Zhao was surprised. He'd used the black trident to kill enemies before. But it didn't have this effect. Chen Zhao couldn't help but pick up the black trident and study it. Looking closely, he realized that the second internal core on the black trident was actually shining with a reserved light. He hadn't noticed it at all when he'd used it just now. Back then, Old Turtle had put in 12 internal cores. Chen Zhao could only activate one whenever his strength increased by a level. This was also Chen Zhao's ultimate weapon. It was specially used to deal with enemies that couldn't be killed. But no matter how powerful the black trident was, it was still a dead object. For example, the that they had faced this time, his strength was undeniable. If Chen Zhao had taken out the black trident from the start, he might not have been able to win. Instead, Red Eagle would be more cautious and fight Chen Zhao more carefully. Only when Red Eagle was the most arrogant and relaxed. When he thought victory was in his grasp. Attacking when Red Eagle couldn't dodge was the best opportunity. Reality proved that Chen Zhao's decision was correct. Using the black trident at any time was better than using it as a last resort. Chen Zhao put away Red Eagle's corpse and turned to look at the other battlefield. Seeing that its ally had died, the three-headed demon's expression changed drastically. He knew very well how terrifying this ally of his was. Even it wasn't confident that it could defeat Red Eagle. In fact, it even thought that Red Eagle was immortal. But now, the immortal Red Eagle had been killed by an unknown enemy. This made him turn pale with fright. Run! He had to run. The three-headed demon turned to run. But at that moment, Iris suddenly pounced on the three-headed demon. The demon immediately wrapped itself around Iris, as if it wanted to strangle her to death. Then Beelzebub Sophie also pounced. Just then, Beelzebub Sophie suddenly took out the Kingslayer. Under Beelzebub Sophie's spell, the Kingslayer suddenly grew 1,000 times larger. Beelzebub Sophie swung the Kingslayer. The Kingslayer smashed onto one of the demon's heads. In an instant, the dragon head was smashed into pieces. The color of the Kingslayer's metal surface actually changed. The Kingslayer turned black. Aw! What's that? The remaining two heads of the three-headed demon screamed in terror. The Kingslayer was swung horizontally by Beelzebub Sophie again. Whoosh! Instantly, blood and flesh flew everywhere. The second head was smashed into pieces. Just like Chen Zhao, Beelzebub Sophie was also waiting for an opportunity. He was waiting for the opportunity to deal the fatal blow to the three-headed demon. Chen Zhao killing Red Eagle made the demon lose its sense of propriety. At the same time, it created an opportunity for Beelzebub Sophie. At this time, Iris also broke free from the three-headed demon that had lost two heads. Due to the death of the other two heads, the three-headed demon's last head was unprecedentedly weak. On the other hand, Beelzebub Sophie's Kingslayer was perfected after absorbing the flesh of two great lords. This was the final process of the Kingslayer. It was evolving toward perfection. Divine Emperor of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 23-26. Iris finally had a chance to counterattack. Being suppressed by the three-headed demon earlier had made her feel very uncomfortable. Now that there was only one head left, Iris had nothing to worry about anymore. A huge dragon claw grabbed the last head and gave it a fatal dragon breath. Of course, the dragon breath had only injured the three-headed demon. Even though it only had one head left, it still had a tenacious life force. Beelzebub Sophie ignored the last dragon head and did not use King Slayer again. Instead, he grabbed the two corpses on the ground and stuffed them into his mouth. He was a great lord of gluttony. He could devour everything, including his enemies. The three-headed demon's terrifying power clashed with Beelzebub Sophie's power in his body. However, the three-headed demon's power was without a master, after all. How could it defeat Beelzebub Sophie? As Beelzebub Sophie devoured the three-headed demon, he dissolved its power at the same time. His flesh and essence were all becoming a part of Beelzebub Sophie. This kind of devouring temporarily made Beelzebub Sophie weak. Although he had a very pure gluttony bloodline, he could not immediately turn the enemy he devoured into a part of himself. It needed to be digested and refined. On the battlefield, it was rare to have a chance to devour someone else's flesh and essence. Only now would the situation be set in stone. Even if there were still enemies, it would not matter. Only then would Beelzebub Sophie dare to devour his enemies without worry. Iris was also gnawing on the three-headed demon's last dying head. However, she did not have the gluttony bloodline. She was purely venting her anger. Chen Zhao also watched from the side, watching how Iris tortured her dying opponent. Iris, move. I'll do it. Beelzebub Sophie had recovered some power. He mentioned the King Slayer again and looked at the three-headed demon's last head on the ground. Three-headed demon, you look like you've been prepared for a long time. Who told you? Sophie, do you still need someone else to inform you? Your actions have long since attracted the king's attention. My territory is adjacent to yours, so you will naturally attack me first. Moreover, we have already formed an alliance, so my death will not bring you anything. It will only cause you to follow in my footsteps. Now, all the lords under the king will directly attack you. Just you wait, just you wait. Ha! The three-headed devil did not beg for mercy. He knew that begging for mercy was useless. Their identities and positions had already determined their fates. Either you die or I die. Of course, Beelzebub Sophie would not show mercy just because of the three-headed demon's threat. It directly devoured the last head of the three-headed devil. Due to the clash of powers, Beelzebub Sophie became even weaker. Beelzebub Sophie transformed into his human form while Iris remained in her original form. She circled around Beelzebub Sophie. Only then did Chen Zhao land beside Beelzebub Sophie. You look like you're in bad shape. I just devoured the three-headed demon. Our powers are violently clashing in my body. I can't digest his power in a short time. This is for you. Chen Zhao tossed a few demonic crystals to Beelzebub Sophie. In contrast to angelic crystals, demonic crystals were great supplements for demons. Of course, for a demon lord like Beelzebub Sophie, regular demonic crystals were useless. However, Chen Zhao had given him perfect demonic crystals. They were rare treasures even for lords. Beelzebub Sophie did not argue with Chen Zhao. He grabbed the demonic crystals and stuffed them into his mouth. How is it? A little better, Beelzebub Sophie said. I heard the three-headed demon's last words. All the lords under the Demon King will attack you. This shouldn't be within the King of Gluttony's protection rules, right? I know, Beelzebub Sophie said. Seems like my plan has triggered the Demon King's nerves. How many lords does that Demon King have? A few dozen. What do we do now? Chen Zhao asked worriedly. No matter how strong Beelzebub Sophie was, he could not defend against a few dozen lords attacking him at the same time. Moreover, Beelzebub Sophie did not have absolute power. Even with Iris's strength, Iris was only as strong as an ordinary great lord. They can't all come out at the same time. After all, they all have their own enemies and they have to guard against each other. The Demon King can't order them to attack me directly, because that's the same as attacking me. Then, Her Majesty can intervene. So it's a close shave. No. Even if it's only a third or a quarter of the lords, or even 5 of them attacking me, Iris and I will still be in danger. If you need help next time, just summon me, Chen Zhao said seriously. After coming to hell so many times, Chen Zhao no longer felt lost or afraid of it. He was not very familiar with it, but he was at least half familiar with it. In hell, only demons above the Demon King level could kill him. Although they were both Great Lord-ranked demons, it would not be easy for them to kill him. Also, if he could not defeat them, he could still run. His speed was top-notch even in the infernal realm. Therefore, there was no reason that he could not run. At most, he could just run to the places of the bosses he knew. In the face of life and death, he did not care about his reputation. It was not convenient for them to intervene, and he did not ask them to. If he ran to their homes, the pursuers would not dare to barge in. I won't fall that easily, Beelzebub Sophie said stubbornly. Yes, it's indeed not easy to find 5 lords, Chen Zhao said mockingly. By the way, do you really not have a solution? Not yet. Beelzebub Sophie shook his head with a gloomy expression. If I can't handle it, I'll just run away and then deal with them one by one. Can't I? I'm different from you, Beelzebub Sophie said. Do you know why I'm a great lord? Why? Because my territory is my foundation and the source of my power. The bigger my territory, the more power I can contain. This is also why the 3-headed demon did not choose to run when he knew I would attack him, Beelzebub Sophie said. Beelzebub Sophie said, in the entire hell, countless lords fight each other because the size of their territory determines the upper limit of a lord's power. Now that you've taken over the 3-headed demon's territory, does that mean you're much more powerful than before? I'm talking about my upper limit, not my current power, Beelzebub Sophie said. Then if you defeat all the great lords under the Demon King, will the Demon King become weak too? Chapter 23-27. Beelzebub Sophie shook his head. The Demon King's power doesn't come from the size of his territory. It comes from the rules. As long as he controls the rules, I can't defeat him. Can't defeat him. Then what are you doing? Trying to kill yourself. The so-called impossible is relative. He controls the rules, but he is also restricted by the rules. My plan is nothing more than dancing on a tightrope. The risk is great, but if I can replace the Demon King, then the benefits will naturally be great. Although Beelzebub Sophie was being roasted on a stove, he'd still conquered a territory. He couldn't lose out on the benefits. Chen Zhao wouldn't go easy on his share. Next, it was time to split the spoils. Chen Zhao watched as large amounts of resources were carried out. Most of these resources were unique to hell. They weren't worth much in the human world. Chen Zhao felt a bit depressed. He wasn't an alchemist. He could only sell these things to alchemists in the human world. Most alchemists in the human world couldn't even use them. What else could he do? Even if Chen Zhao gave all the resources to Ruan Faxaban, he wouldn't be able to use them. Let's not talk about making use of it, he should first identify all the materials. Some things were worth a lot of money in the human world, but to Chen Zhao, it was just a drop in the ocean. For Chen Zhao's current wealth, there was no qualitative increase. This made Chen Zhao feel even more depressed. What heel of the dead? What heart of black iron? He had never heard of these things. As for what they were used for, it was even more unclear. Just then, Beelzebub, Sophie and Iris walked up to Qin Zhao. What? You're crying after getting such a large amount of wealth. You should be happier. Look at me, I'm dying. I'm not as sad as you. The thing is, I can't exchange these things for wealth. Don't you feel depressed? How about this? I'll trade with you with something, Beelzebub, Sophie said, smiling. What? Qin Zhao was instantly energized. If it was some priceless treasure, he was happy to exchange these resources. Him. Just then, Beelzebub, Sophie pointed at a demon behind him. The demon had a normal body. He had sharp ears, completely black eyes, and a skinny body. His hands and feet were all shackled. Him. You want to trade him for all the resources of a great lord. No matter who he is, he's not worth that price. Qin Zhao shook his head. Business was business, and friendship was friendship. Even if he couldn't turn these resources into the wealth he needed. However, this did not mean that these resources were worthless. Beelzebub, Sophie wanted to trade an unknown demon for such a huge amount of resources. What kind of joke was this? He's the chief alchemist under the three-headed devil, felt Nitak. Just him alone is more valuable than the 900 alchemists in my alchemy army. I was wondering if I should use him to trade for resources, but given my current situation, I can only choose to trade him with resources. After all, these resources can solve my urgent problems. Sophie nodded. Can he make a divine weapon for me? Qin Zhao asked in disdain. Ruan Faxi had always said that he wanted to forge a divine artifact and leave his name in the annals of history. However, even if a large amount of rare materials were placed in front of him, he would not be able to do so. Up until now, he still hadn't figured it out. Those precious materials had indeed been used to create some powerful alchemy tools. However, they were only powerful. They were still worlds apart from a divine weapon. Yes, I can. At this time, Felt Nitak spoke first. As long as the Honorable Sir can provide the materials needed for the divine artifact, this lowly one can create a divine artifact for you. Qin Zhao could not finish his sentence. After a while, he said, even so, he's still not worth it. How about half the resources? He's more useful than you think. Half is still too much. Tell me what benefits he can bring me first. Forget about the divine weapon. A divine artifact was a divine artifact. How powerful it was up to the benevolent to see it. Could he drag the handsome guy down from the throne with the divine weapon? Could he make Beelzebub Sophie defeat all the great lords attacking him? No. This was clearly impossible. If this demon was really that capable, Beelzebub Sophie would not have sent him out. I remember that you collected 100 portions of the blood of the King of Power's subordinates, right? Yes, I did. Qin Zhao nodded. He'd even asked Beelzebub Sophie to collect it for him. Did you make the finished product? He can't, Beelzebub Sophie said, pointing at Felt Nitak. Qin Zhao clearly remembered that he'd been able to break through to the Great Lord level because of the handsome guy and Belial's guidance. He'd also gained enlightenment from the blood of the King of Power's subordinates. At the time, he hadn't collected 100 portions of the King of Power's blood yet. Even so, he'd still successfully comprehended an unimaginable level of power from it. His increase in power was also guided by King Kong. As a pure subordinate of the King of Power, King Kong had the ability to see through the nature of all power. Of course, seeing through didn't mean that he could do it himself. Qin Zhao's power had long surpassed his, but he could still guide Qin Zhao in this aspect. Qin Zhao had followed his method and collected 100 portions of the King of Power's blood, but he still couldn't use it to increase Qin Zhao's power. Even knowing the method didn't mean that he could do it. For example, everyone knew that there were resources on the moon. But how could he obtain them? Go play with your balls. The 100 portions of blood Qin Zhao had were materials to build a spaceship. Chapter 23-28. When can I get the finished product? Qin Zhao asked. 1 month, I promise, Fert Nitak replied. 1 month, right? I don't want to hear news that it needs to be delayed. Yes, I'll definitely give you the finished product within a month. I can't sort through this pile of resources. I can't even recognize everything. Help me organize them when you have time. Master, I'm afraid I can't organize them in a short time if I'm alone. Fert Nitak looked helplessly at the mountain of supplies in front of him. There were at least hundreds of thousands of tons of resources. There were all sorts of things. There could be hundreds of thousands of types. Even if Felt could clone himself, he wouldn't be able to organize them in a short time. I'll ask Sophie for some people to be your subordinates. Master, I have 2 assistants. They're still with Mr. Sophie. They're great helpers. Sure, I'll ask for them for you, Qin Zhao said. For Qin Zhao and Beelzebub Sophie, this was a piece of cake. When Qin Zhao asked Beelzebub Sophie for people, Beelzebub Sophie gave them to Qin Zhao without hesitation. At the same time, he gave Qin Zhao a group of 5,000 underlings. Qin Zhao had some underlings in his house and Blackie's alternate space had a large number of them too. Therefore, Qin Zhao had interacted with underlings many times. He had a good impression of them and was more at ease. They were very hardworking. After recognizing their master, they would be loyal to him. Underlings wouldn't betray their masters. Usually, every demon would raise a few underling groups. However, these underling groups wouldn't be directly loyal to their breeders. The breeders would usually replenish some underlings after a period of time. Only then would these chosen underlings be loyal to the breeders. Of course, some demons raised underlings for sale. They wouldn't let the underlings be loyal to them directly. Once their original master was defeated or killed, the underlings that had already been loyal to the demon would lose their right to exist. For example, the 3-headed demon had been defeated by Beelzebub Sophie. The underlings that had been loyal to the 3-headed demon had also been completely eliminated by Beelzebub Sophie. What Beelzebub Sophie could bring out were those who were domesticated but had never been loyal to anyone. But now, the underlings that Qin Zhao had gotten from Beelzebub Sophie were loyal to him. At first, Qin Zhao wasn't used to inferior demons. But now, Qin Zhao was used to having underlings assist him in his daily life. He didn't plan on bringing these 5,000 underlings back to the human world. Instead, he left it behind and handed it over to Fert Nitak to manage. After that, he left Beelzebub Sophie's territory. Because someone was summoning him. Belia. She sensed that she had arrived in hell. However, she did not summon Qin Zhao directly. Instead, she sent him a message. Qin Zhao crossed layers of mountains in hell, passing through vast plains and barren deserts. However, it was still far away from Belial's palace. Just then, Qin Zhao felt like his body was enveloped by some power. Instantly, Qin Zhao felt a terrifying pressure. Even his physical body felt like it was going to be crushed under this pressure. And this force was bringing him forward at an even faster speed. Even an ocean could be passed by in the blink of an eye. It was too fast, indescribably fast. Mountains, rivers, and oceans flashed past like lights. When Qin Zhao stopped, he saw countless stars dotting the ground. They were shining spheres embedded in the ground. Some were big and some were small. The big ones were several meters wide, while the small ones were only the size of a fist. In the center of the stars was a domed palace. Chen Zhao landed in front of the palace and strolled inside. It was his first time entering Belial's palace from the outside. In the past, he was always summoned into the palace directly. When he entered, the luminous pearls embedded in the pillars along the way lit up. Chen Zhao saw Belial lying lazily on the throne in the deep hall. "You're too slow. At least I made it here." Chen Zhao shrugged. If Chen Zhao had flown here with his own speed, he might not even reach in a few months. Only Belial's power could bring him here so quickly. "I'm very sad that you didn't come to find me immediately after coming to Hell. If you really need me, you can summon me from the human world to Hell." Two maids brought over some fruits from Hell. Chen Zhao sat down and started eating. "You have a special smell." Belial sat up. Her body was huge. Wherever she sat, she was more than 10 meters tall. Belial leaned over and sniffed Chen Zhao's body. This was the first time Chen Zhao saw Belial stand up on her own. "I have a special smell. I just fought with a great lord, and..." "I'm not talking about the little firebird smell," Belial interrupted. "What's in your spatial ring?" Chen Zhao tossed the spatial ring to Belial and told her to find it herself. A while later, Belial took out a huge heart. Chen Zhao had collected this when he'd fought with the giant snake in the barren land. "You mean this is the special smell on me?" "This is the titan snake's heart, but it's been modified." "Is it very rare?" Chen Zhao asked curiously. "If it's a pure titan snake instead of this twisted thing, it'll be even more valuable." "What's so valuable?" All Chen Zhao could think of was that it could either be used to make something or be eaten. Belial wasn't Beelzebub, the king of gluttony. She probably didn't have that much desire for food. So, Chen Zhao guessed that this thing was probably used to make something. "It's not what you think." Even though Chen Zhao didn't say anything, Belial could still tell what he was thinking. "You can read minds. You know what I'm thinking." "It's a guess," Belial said. "Just like how you can tell what an animal is doing." "Am I an animal in your eyes?" "No. In my eyes, animals can't communicate." "What's this thing for?" "Titan snakes are special creatures. If they evolve into world snakes, they'll create a small world. Alternate dimension. I can open one myself." Belial shook her head. "No. No matter how big your alternate dimension is, it's just an alternate dimension. No matter how small a small world is, it's still a world. What's the difference between a small world and an alternate dimension?" "There's not much difference, but a small world can produce natural elements. An alternate dimension can only rely on the main world to have natural elements. It can't produce natural elements by itself." Chapter 23-29. It still doesn't mean anything to me. What was the difference between a small world that could produce spiritual qi and an alternate dimension? Essentially, there was no difference to Chen Zhao. "That's true for you," Belia said. "But it's different for me. What's the use? I can create a race and throw them into the small world to develop on their own. Then, I'll take back the small world. So, that small world is like a ranch to you, right? You can understand it that way, but the difference is that I'm not taking back those races. I'm taking back the world itself." "How does that work?" Chen Zhao was even more curious. "It's very complicated and hard to explain," Belia said. "At least last time, you've proven that you can't understand this with your comprehension." Last time on the ice plains, Chen Zhao had received both Belia and the handsome guy's guidance. In the end, he'd barely broken through. At that time, Belia and the handsome guy had complained about Qin Zhao's comprehension. But Qin Zhao's curiosity only lasted for 3 minutes. Then it was time for Belia. Both of them were familiar with it. Until Qin Zhao's time in hell ended. Qin Zhao returned to the human world. Just then, Qin Zhao's phone suddenly received countless messages and missed calls. Hey, Belia, you've called me 168 times in the past 24 hours. What's so urgent? Qin Zhao, you're finally here. Where did you go yesterday? Something. Qin Zhao didn't explain. Jerlin woke up yesterday and realized you weren't here. She's been crying. Are you and Jerlin at the hotel? I'll go right now. No, I brought Jerlin to watch the match. What match? Soccer match. Trial, it's the 3rd trial. Papa, I want to talk to Papa. Just then, Jerlin snatched Belia's phone. Papa, I miss you, she said pitifully. Papa, where are you? Jerlin, be good next to Uncle Belia. I'll go find you now. Oh. Uncle Belia, here's your phone. Where's the trial? Sense the entire Istanbul and see where the spiritual qi is the most abundant. Qin Zhao furrowed his brows. He rose into the air and expanded his small world completely. As expected, Qin Zhao sensed a large amount of dense spiritual qi gathering in the southeast of Istanbul. Qin Zhao headed southeast. Qin Zhao came to the place with the densest spiritual qi but found nothing there. There was only one mountain, as well as lush vegetation. Qin Zhao's small world expanded again. He still couldn't find anything. Just then, Qin Zhao felt someone appear nearby. There were 10 of them in total, and all of them were spiritualists. Each of them had a large amount of magic power. Qin Zhao skipped over it and went up to the man. It was Matthew, Angie, and the others. Who are you? The person was very wary of Qin Zhao's sudden appearance. But when 5 of them saw Qin Zhao, they couldn't help but be stunned. Qin, it's you. Matthew exclaimed in surprise. Matthew, it's you guys. Qin Zhao greeted Matthew. Why are you here? We finished the 3rd trial, so we came out directly. Qin, what are you doing here? I heard from my friend that the entrance to the 3rd trial is here, but I couldn't find it after searching for a long time. I'll take you there, Matthew offered. Sure. Qin Zhao landed on the ground. Matthew turned to Angie. Angie, take them back to the hotel. I'll go with Qin. Okay. Angie looked at Qin Zhao and nodded slightly. That day, everyone had fainted. Only Angie and Matthew were conscious. She knew very well how intense the battle between Qin Zhao and the Red Demon had been. The destruction of Desolate Market was also related to Qin Zhao. Angie, who's that? He seems to be very familiar with you. Matthew rarely shows such enthusiasm. That guy. He's a monster, Angie said calmly. Monster. Of course, everyone understood what Angie meant by monster. He's strong. Yes. How strong? Even stronger than Matthew. With the 10 of us together, we should be able to last 5 seconds. Don't joke. How old is he? Angie isn't joking, Bo-Anta said. The entrance to the 3rd trial was in a cave in the mountains. Matthew took Qin Zhao through the cave and entered a strange space filled with birdsong and fragrant flowers. The place was covered in the scent of spring. The projected sun was also dazzling and warm. It didn't have the gray deathly stillness of Desolate Market at all. There was a milky white palace before them. It had the style of an ancient Greek temple. Let's go. The Palace of 4 Seasons is in front of us. Matthew took Chen Zhao into the Palace of Four Seasons. The Palace of Four Seasons looked like a huge coliseum. There were many spiritualists in the audience. In the coliseum, there were dozens of spiritualists. They were facing three figures. The three figures looked very strange. Chen Zhao couldn't feel their breathing. However, they emitted powerful auras. Those three are the puppet bodies controlled by Celestial Master Zhang, 23rd Blood Mary, and Mr. Wendy, Matthew said. Chen Zhao patted his head. He remembered that Bifla had mentioned this before. I thought it would be teams against the three. Why are there so many teams against the three of them at the same time? There's nothing we can do about it. In the first few groups, they fought against the puppets of the three seniors. However, they were all killed in an instant. Even our group had to work together with the other groups to obtain victory. If it were just one group, almost no group would be able to pass the trial. Matthew's team was the top seed in this year's Battle of Holy Glory. Perhaps only the Celestial Master sect from Dragon Tiger Mountain could fight against them. Even Matthew said that it was almost impossible for a team to pass the trial. That meant that the trial this time was extremely difficult. Chen Zhao glanced at the battle in the center of the field. It indeed looked intense. However, Chen Zhao wasn't interested in this battle. He went to find Jerlin and Bifla. Soon, Chen Zhao found them. Matthew, I've found someone. If you're busy, you should go ahead and do it. Okay. If you need me, you can call me. There's signal here. Okay, got it. Jerlin had been sitting on Bifla's lap, watching the trial in the Colosseum. However, one of her eyes saw Chen Zhao. She suddenly turned in Chen Zhao's direction. Papa! Jerlin's short legs jumped to the ground. Chen Zhao hurried forward and caught Jerlin before she hit the ground. Papa, Papa, Papa! Jerlin was very excited. Chapter 23:30. Chen Zhao tossed Jerlin high into the air. Little Jerlin laughed heartily. She couldn't stop giggling. The little tantrum she'd had because she couldn't see Chen Zhao disappeared in the blink of an eye. After playing with Jerlin for a while, Chen Zhao sat beside Bifla. It's been hard on you these days. Other than when she cries, Bifla said calmly. Jerlin's usually very likable. Uncle Bifla, has Jerlin been naughty these days? Jerlin was in Chen Zhao's arms, but her short hand was holding Bifla's arm. She stared at Bifla with her big eyes. At Bifla's position, he basically wouldn't fall for anything but Jerlin's tricks. Jerlin's always been good, Bifla said, smiling. Where have you been these days? Not 2 days. More accurately, I've been gone for 24 hours. Okay, where have you been in the past 24 hours? Chen Zhao took out a bright red feather. Bifla took it. There was still a faint aura lingering on it, but this faint aura made people's hearts palpitate. It was like a fatal poison. No matter how small the amount, it was still frightening. What's this? Such a scary aura. Would you believe me if I said I went to maintain world peace? If you went to destroy this thing, I believe you, Bifla said seriously. When he heard Chen Zhao's words, he didn't think too much about it. He just thought that a terrifying monster had appeared somewhere and Chen Zhao had gone to destroy it. Just from the aura emitted by the feather, if such a monster really appeared, it would definitely be a disaster. Anything else? Bifla asked. With your habits, if you destroy this monster, you'll probably collect its corpse, right? Do you want it? Yes. Bifla nodded. For what? There's a special power on it. The magic in my body is being attracted by it, I want to research what's so attractive about it. How much? As much as you have. Chen Zhao took out 2 red eagle feathers. Take them first. I'll pluck all the feathers from the corpse later. In return, if I get any results from my research, I will share them with you. At this moment, the battle below had already ended. Another batch of participants was swapped out, and the opponents were still 3 puppet bodies. Anti-Gaia! Anti-Gaia! Jerlin immediately cried out in excitement. One of the teams in the mall happened to be from the supernatural organization. Bifla glanced at Chen Zhao. Your team seems to be in trouble. What's wrong? Chen Zhao asked. My team isn't weak, and it looks like the other teams aren't bad either. Why is there trouble? Among those teams, there's a team whose members are all notorious soul catchers. What the hell? What is a soul catcher? Soul catcher was a spell of the soul. It was a spell that specialized in attacking the soul. So what? Will they attack their comrades? Chen Zhao asked. They won't take the initiative to attack their comrades, but they habitually treat all the living people around them as their weapons. As long as it's the soul of an enemy or a comrade standing in front of them, they will use it as a weapon to attack the enemy. Facing them are Celestial Master Zhang, Blood Mary, and Wendy. No matter which one of them is a soul they can't absorb, so they will definitely attack the souls of the people around them. Chen Zhao frowned, but then he understood. If my people fall here, it only means that they aren't skilled enough. I can't be blamed. Chen Zhao wasn't worried about their lives. Out of the 3 people in front of him, 2 of them were his friends. Even if Chen Zhao didn't do anything, the other 2 wouldn't just stand by and watch. Of course, it wasn't accurate to call them friends. They were more like friends. They discussed and communicated with each other. Soon, the battle began. 5 teams of 50 people began to launch a fierce attack on the 3 puppet bodies. But the 3 puppets were easily dispelled. Zhang Tianyi, 23rd Blood Mary, and Wendy's magic power were suppressed to the same level as the opponents. But their realms were still there. Their magic knowledge wasn't something the opponents could compare to. They even had much more battle experience than the opponents. So, it still wasn't a fair battle. For them, numbers were just barely enough to maintain an undefeatable situation. It was not a bargaining chip for them to achieve victory. Soon, the 50 people were cut off by the 3. Chen Zhao shook his head. There was indeed a clear difference. Zhang Tianyi, Blood Mary, and Wendy, who controlled the puppet bodies, had precise control over their magic. They forced the opponents to take out their trump cards. It feels like 3 boxers are beating 50 kids. Chen Zhao shook his head. Indeed. It feels like even though they have the same magic power level, the realm is too different. After that, the 10 soul catchers attacked their comrades who were on the same side. And the first to suffer was Morid from the supernatural organization. Because he wasn't prepared, Morid's soul was pulled out by one of the soul catchers and thrown to the other side. Chen Zhao frowned when he saw his subordinates being betrayed and hurt. Normally, Chen Zhao would really go up and beat them to death. But this was the arena and it was public. Furthermore, the other party's actions were allowed in principle. At most, it was a moral problem. So, Chen Zhao just sat there and clenched his fists. He really wanted to rush down and beat them up. But he resisted in the end. Forget it. I'm not watching anymore. In the end, Chen Zhao picked up Jerlin and planned to leave. Great, I'm not going to keep watching either. Let's go, Bifla said, standing up. Aren't you going to wait for your team to go up? They've already gone up. 3 were eliminated. 7 advanced. Chen Zhao looked at the center of the arena. The supernatural organization's team would probably eliminate a few people too. But because the soul catchers had ambushed their comrades and used their soul attacks, the other teams immediately took revenge. This caused the situation to go out of control. The other teams didn't care about the three puppets at all. They all turned to the soul catchers. Walking to the edge of the audience seats, Chen Zhao couldn't help but look at the battle in the arena. A bunch of bastards who harm others without benefiting themselves, Chen Zhao cursed again. Their magic didn't have any effect. Instead, it messed up their formation. Plus, they weren't that powerful. They were beaten up by the other teams. The 10 soul catchers were all eliminated by their comrades. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 23:31. Li Pan, where have you been these past 2 days? Edgerson asked Li Pan. They'd heard that Li Pan had gone to work for Celestial Master Zhang. However, Li Pan's departure was extremely mysterious, and when she returned, she was also very mysterious. She didn't say a single word about where she'd gone. Nevertheless, everyone was still envious of Li Pan, who'd advanced directly. Work, Li Pan said. What work? Don't ask. Li Pan shook her head. She'd actually come out yesterday. However, she'd been hiding from her companions. She hadn't calmed down yet. She was worried that she'd blurt out everything she'd seen. If her companions found out, it might not be a good thing for them. Would Chen Zhao kill her to keep her quiet? Very likely. Forget it, Edgerson said. You can tell us when you want to. As long as you're fine. How was your trial? Li Pan asked. Edgerson shook his head bitterly. We were all eliminated. The trial this time was too difficult. Just then, Edgerson's phone rang. Hey, Cliff. Edgerson, Amber and I are in trouble. Can you lend us some money? Huh? What trouble? Where are you now? We're hiding in a small hotel. Give me the address. I'll go pick you up. After getting the address, Edgerson hung up the phone. What happened? My friend, Amber and Cliff, whom you've met before. They seem to be in some trouble. I'll go pick them up now. Do you know what's going on? Not sure yet. Let's go together. Maybe I'll be useful. Edgerson thought for a moment and then nodded. The two drove to the hotel where Cliff and Amber were hiding. They found their room and pushed the door open. It was dark inside. The couple looked rather disheveled. There were also injuries on their faces. They seemed to have just fought with someone. Cliff, Amber, what happened to you? It's only been 3 days. How did you end up like this? Amber and Clive wanted to cry, but no tears came out. 2 days ago, we were driving on the street and got into a car accident. Car accident? I suspect that it was not an accident at all. It was a scam. Amber said indignantly, that guy deliberately rushed into the road. Is it a scam? Edgerson looked at Clive. I'm not sure. When the guy was hit by the car, he immediately jumped up and demanded compensation from us. We wanted to call the police, but he was very angry. He demanded compensation from us and prevented us from calling the police. At that time, we were also in a hurry and didn't want to continue entangling with that guy, so Amber used the soulless spell to make that guy forget about the car accident for a short time. Edgerson and Li Pan could understand. They were all spiritualists. Normally, they wouldn't attack ordinary people. But if he encountered some trouble, the first thing he would think of was to use magic to solve the problem. It wasn't just Cliff and Amber, most spiritualists were the same. Although the rule of not harming ordinary people was like the sword of Damocles hanging over their heads, restricting the majority of spiritualists, most spiritualists could not do anything. However, most spiritualists had tried to play around the edges. This kind of borderline ball would be troublesome if someone pursued it. But very few people would be so bored as to pursue it. Clive and Ampa also took it for granted that their method of solving the problem was fine. Of course, this rule was useless against spiritualists like Qin Zhao. Even if Qin Zhao had used supernatural powers to destroy a gang, he would not be able to do so. No one could control him. Who could? There were only a few people in the entire spiritual world who could control Qin Zhao. They wouldn't cause trouble for him for a gang. What happened next? Edgerson asked. Then, a group of gangsters stopped us. The leader was also a spiritualist. He beat us up and demanded $100,000 as compensation. Otherwise, he wouldn't let us go. You mean, a spiritualist and a gang of gang members? Edgerson's face was filled with shock. Spiritualists had all sorts of identities in the world of ordinary people. However, it was rare for a spiritualist to join a gang meeting. To them, controlling a gang would be more beneficial to them. They wouldn't participate in it themselves. Because if they were personally involved in it, they wouldn't be able to use magic to replace some violent methods. Because of the restriction of that rule, even if a spiritualist became a gang's fighter, he would have to use ordinary methods instead of magic. Therefore, capable spiritualists might try to control a gang in order to amass wealth instead of doing things themselves. Of course, spiritualists who did not have the ability would usually stay away from gangs. From Cliff and Ampa's narration, Edgerson and Li Pan roughly guessed it. That gang was indeed trying to scam them. However, they couldn't tell if they were trying to scam a spiritualist. Or maybe they just happened to meet them. Looking for trouble with spiritualists seemed more risky than normal people. In reality, it wasn't. Low-level and mediocre spiritualists were actually the easiest to bully. They didn't have any power or background. Plus, they were afraid of that rule, so they were even more restricted to normal people. There was once an incident where a gang controlled by a higher-level spiritualist targeted a lower-level spiritualist. Do you know their name? That spiritualist. Arhan Terrell. Edgerson and Li Pan couldn't help but look at each other. Edgerson asked again, "Are you sure that's his name?" Cliff nodded. "That's what he said." "Is he an Indian?" "Yes." "Do you know him?" "Don't you know the name?" Edgerson asked. "No. You know that we're only in contact with the North American spirit world. The North American spirit world is only so big. Isn't this troublesome?" "Very." Edgerson's expression was solemn. Arhan Terrell practices Hindu magic and is very powerful. He's also known as a rogue in the spirit world. Does no one care about him? It's not that no one cares about him, but most of the time, he doesn't leave any evidence. Even if someone with higher status and strength interferes, he can easily escape. Most of the time, his targets are people like you who don't have any background. Chapter 2332. Edgerson's expression was uncomfortable. Arhan Terrell wasn't alone. He had a group of loyal subordinates, all spiritualists. His style was basically the same. He would go to a new place and control the local club or gang. Then, he would use the gang's regular people to attack the target. Although this was a routine operation, it was very troublesome for ordinary spiritualists like Cliff and Ampa. They would be bullied by regular gang members. If they dared to use magic to resist, they would be attacked by Arhin Terrell's trusted subordinates. Or they could threaten them directly and use their fear of rules to blackmail them. The targets they chose were all low-level spiritualists. They had no strength or background and were easy to bully. Once they chose the wrong target, they would decisively give up and retreat. This was why they could get away with it for so long. Edgerson really wanted to help Cliff and Nampa, but Arhin Terrell and his subordinates weren't people he could go against. Li Pan was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "I'll see if I can find someone to help you solve this problem." Edgerson turned to look at Li Pan in surprise. "Do you know anyone who can solve this problem?" "Yes," Li Pan said. "If he's willing to help, it'll be solved. It's Celestial Master Zhang." Li Pan shook his head. "No, but if he's willing to help, it'll be no different from Celestial Master Zhang." Edgerson was even more surprised. After thinking for a while, he asked, "It's that guy?" "Yes, it's him. He has that much power. He's very strong. He's just one person. He's enough." With that, Li Pan took out his phone and called Qin Zhao. "Hello, Mr. Qin. It's me. What's up?" I want to ask for your help. It's just a small matter for you." "Go ahead." "It's like this." Li Pan told Qin Zhao the whole story. Qin Zhao was silent for 3 seconds on the other end. Then he said, "Sure." With that, Qin Zhao hung up. Li Pan felt like he was about to collapse. He sat on the edge of the bed. Although that guy is very powerful, there's no need to be so scared after a phone call, right? Edgerson said with a frown. Even now, he still didn't have a clear understanding of Qin Zhao. Li Pan looked at Edgerson and said, "If possible, I hope to never have any contact with him again." "Is there a need to be so scared?" Li Pan shook her head. She didn't dare to tell Edgerson about what she had seen 2 days ago. The impact of Qin Zhao on her daughter's third night was too great. "Li Pan, is there really no problem? Are you sure that guy solved your problem?" "Don't worry. Since he agreed, there won't be any problems. Arhin Terrell isn't a common shaman. After all, Cliff and Ampa hadn't had much contact with the outside world of the North American supernatural world. That was why Archon Terrell was still a stranger to him. What kind of background does that Archon Terrell have? He is a traitor of Hinduism. For a long time, he was hunted by the upper echelons of Hinduism, but he either escaped or was killed. The long period of escape allowed him to develop a very powerful combat ability, and he once won the title of Holy Glorious 1 in 2 consecutive Holy Glorious battles. Everything Cliff and Ampa knew about the Battle of the Holy Glory came from Edgerson. That was why they didn't have a clear understanding of the holy battles either. What does the holy battles mean? Naturally, they thought that it was a kind of competition. The 10 people who obtain the title of Holy Glory each time are the 10 most outstanding spiritualists of their generation. Arhin Terrell obtained the title of Holy Glory twice 30 years ago and 20 years ago respectively. That is to say, 30 years ago, he was one of the most outstanding spiritualists in the world. After 30 years, his reputation as a genius was gradually replaced by the news of his evil deeds, and people gradually neglected Arhin Terrell's strength. But after so many years, he will only become stronger, not weaker. Edgerson looked at Li Pan. "That's why I'm doubtful that the person you found can solve this problem." Li Pan shook her head. "You can't understand how terrifying that guy is. That day when we fought him, he didn't even use 1/10 of his strength. Have you ever seen him display his true strength?" "Yes. But I don't know if what I saw was his full strength. Anyway, he's a terrifyingly powerful shaman. He's the scariest guy I've ever seen." I hope it's as you say. Since this Archon Terrell is the final winner of the 2 holy battles, why would he betray us? Chen Zhao asked Bifla in confusion while carrying Jerlin. Whether it's the power he's from or himself, he's a very strange guy, Bifla said. Strange? This word sounds so awkward coming out of your mouth. Because when we talk about Archon Terrell and the power behind him, I can't think of any other word other than strange. Seems like the story behind this must be very interesting. Archon Terrell is from a lower caste, and his wish is to marry a woman from a higher caste. He has taken a fancy to his teacher's daughter, and his teacher has promised him that if he can obtain the title of Holy Glory, then he will let his daughter marry him. Hearing this beginning, I think it's a poignant love story. But in reality, it's not a love story, but a farce, Bifla said. Bifla said, he obtained the title of Holy Glory for the first time and went to his teacher, hoping that his teacher would agree to his request. His teacher also agreed to his request, but after marriage, he discovered that his wife was not a virgin. Although he was very unhappy, he eventually swallowed his anger and pretended that none of this had happened. Not long after, they had a child. Not long after. Yes, it's exactly what you think. And then, while he was participating in the Second Holy Glorious War, his wife got pregnant again. Is it what I think? Yes, his wife's second child isn't his either. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.